get you, Barbara.
And there's no more room in hell.
Hey, everybody, and we are live. Happy Sunday night to you all. I'm used to saying Saturday night, but we're here on a Sunday night because last night was the 4th of July, and they blew up our fucking neighborhood, even in the rain. Like, it started raining at the end of the night, and didn't deter people from setting off those fireworks and going to fucking town. And I learned my lesson the hard way years ago when I first started the channel. Don't try to do a live stream on the 4th of July because it's incredibly distracting. They're still shooting some of what's left over of the fireworks tonight, so you may hear some booms and some bangs in the background. But we're gonna try to push through. Although it is a Sunday night, so hopefully people will be ending it early tonight, and the celebration of America's 250th birthday, which cracking one open there as I as I just shot beer all over my computer monitor. Hopefully that doesn't fuck anything up. I've been through enough computers this year already, but all right. Anyway, how's everybody doing out there? Hope you had a really good 4th of July. Hope you really enjoyed your time with your family. I am hot dogged and hamburgered the fuck out at this point, and beans and potato salad and all that other good shit. So yeah, I feel I got a little sun yesterday. I'm a little bloated from all the hamburgers and hot dogs and all the accessories that come with that. But we're here tonight. We're going to talk about. I figured I've had so much discussion, so much, aches and pains over this recent Scream Factory Day of the Dead 4K release, the box set release. I figure let's get on here and talk about some physical media. Let's go back to the good old days. Let's go back to when we didn't really care about, artwork and transfers and all that. Let's go back to the good old days. Let's go back to the days of Anchor Bay and take a look at the history of the George A. Romero filmography on Anchor Bay, because really Anchor Bay was kind of the home of a lot of Romero's films back in the day, and really a lot of the Anchor Bay releases were my first introduction to a lot of those Romero films. And I forget how many goddamn releases Anchor Bay did of all the Romero stuff until I started pulling them down to for this stream. And now I have like two giant piles of shit here that that we'll try to get through fairly quickly. I'm going to try not to go on too long tonight because it is a Sunday night and I do have to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning and go to work. So hang with me. But let's hang out and talk a little Anchor Bay, talk a little old school Romero releases. Let's do the fun stuff. Let me say hi to everybody in the chat. Happy 4th of July to everybody, except for Michelle. She's from Canada. So Canada Day was a couple days ago, so she didn't give a shit about yesterday. But hi, Michelle. How you doing? Happy Sunday to you. Hope you're doing well. Saw William Blasco in the house. What's going on, William? Your image there, your profile pic, always freaks me out when I see that shit when you comment or something. I know it's like Leatherface, but it's really fucking odd looking when there's not a face in it. It's just it's very unsettling to me for some reason, but always good to see you anyway. So hope everyone had a good great Independence Day weekend. I did. It was busy for sure, but we're on the other side of it now, and I don't know what the next holiday would even be. We got 4th of July. What would be next? Labor Day, I guess. So we're kind of in the clear for a little bit going forward. But good to see you, man. Got Robert in the house, Robert Harbitz. What's going on, brother? Mr. Robert Knight 90 himself, the Knight 90 guy himself. Bonnie Bailey in the house. What's going on, Bonnie? How are you? Hope you had a good 4th. Got Ed in the house. Ed Trader Music and Entertainment. What's going on, brother? We got Dan Fair 2890. What's going on, man? Hello. Is anybody there? Yes, we are here. It is Sunday. It's a different day. It's a different feel. I always feel like I got the Night of the Living Dead background and graphics going on tonight because I always feel like Sunday is a perfect Night of the Living Dead day to me. Like Sunday is always like a lazy kind of hang around day, and Night of the Living Dead is like the perfect like lazy movie to watch for me. Like when I'm just lounging around bullshitting. And we're gonna be talking some Night of the Living Dead tonight, some good and some bad. So stay tuned. Anyway, you didn't even bring up now. You're quoting Day of the Dead, and I'm shifting it to Night of the Living Dead for some reason. But hey, we're here to talk about it all. So got Drone of the Dead. My man Matt Landrum is in the house. What's up, brother? Got Steven in the house. Howdy, campers. Howdy, Steven. Hope you had a good fourth. Grande is in the house. Martin is a boy with problems. Martin has a family history. Soft Cell, yeah, from the 80s. Literally a song written about the movie Martin. How cool. How fucking cool is that? And it's by the same band that did Tainted Love. Who would have thought? I've been in a real 80s music mood here lately. On the drive back from Living Dead weekend with Will, that's literally all we listened to all the way back, all 8 hours of the trip. We had Sirius in the car, in our rental car, and I just turned it on 80s on 8, and that's all. I don't think we changed the dial once. We just listened to that all the way there. And so I've just been stuck in like an 80s mode lately. And that's not a bad thing. I hated 80s music when I was a kid, though. It's the funny thing. My parents were all about, like, that's all they ever listened to is like the 80s. We used to have a radio station here on the weekends that would play nothing but 80s music. And it would drive me and my sister insane because, at that age, we wanted to listen to like Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls and whatever the hell we wanted to listen to when we were kids. But my parents would force this 80s shit on us all the time. And it was just like, oh, this is old people music. Let's listen to this. And now roles are reversed. I'm wanting to listen to 80s music all the time in the car, and my daughter wants no part of it. So she just screams and yells and tells me that this sucks and I don't want to listen to it. And I'm just like, you're my karma, aren't you? You're my karma. Yeah, you're just a little me. You're a little me. But what's up, Grande? Good to see you, my man. Jeff's in the house. Down is up. Good to see you, my man. It's been a little bit. We missed you at Living Dead weekend. Heard you were dealing with some health issues and some health stuff going on. Hope you're feeling better, man. Hope you're on the bounce back, man. Hated not getting a chance to actually meet you in person at Living Dead weekend, but your health is far more important, and hope you're doing well, man. But it's good to see you in here. I think I have a friend, or I have a friend who I think is the Count. Well, you're talking some Martin tonight already. I'm down for it. Jeff saying, hello, ridiculously hot New York City. Major props to whoever invented air conditioning. Well, you got to keep your air conditioning. If you're in New York City, you got to keep it at 78. I mean, those are the rules now. I didn't write them. I didn't come up with them, but those are the rules now, apparently. But as I think Tim Dillon said yesterday on his podcast, it was like the American thing to do would be to chastise other people for not putting their air conditioning at 78 and bragging about how you are and making the sacrifice and just posting about it and getting on to other people and then cranking your air as low as it can possibly go in private. That's the American thing to do, is just to shit on everybody else and do the complete opposite. But yes, it's been miserably hot here this week. It actually kind of cooled down a little bit yesterday. It was like 91, I think, high 80s, early 90s. Or high 80s, low 90s, early 90s. So it actually felt like we kind of got a reprieve from the heat. But yeah, it's been fucking awful. Awesome, thank you. Good to hear. Because I never know. I come on here and it's just like I'm just going, and I could be cutting in and out. Who the hell knows? I haven't had very many problems lately, though. Knock on wood. So, but I always appreciate the vote of confidence there. Thank you, my man. Thank you. Not sure if it's new, but I'm digging the new Stetson's. Yeah, got me a little change of pace here on the hats. I figure I'd step away from the Iron City hats for a while until they start paying me some scratch, some sponsorship money. But I'm still drinking it, and I'll still be talking about it probably on every stream. But yeah, I dug the hat. I don't know. I found it and I was like, yeah. Well, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's switch it up here. Jeff says, yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the 30th anniversary night DVD brought to us by John Russo. Let's maybe I may have a couple of copies of that over here we can talk about. Um, by wishing Michelle happy Canada Day. Yes, yes. Um, oh, it's a mask you paint. It looks like Leatherface. It's pretty fucking freaky, man. Good work on that because it's kind of it is pretty fucking disturbing. Good work, man. Good work on that. Um, Steven says Williams' profile picture looks like he skinned Ric Flair. It does kind of. Woo! Where are we going tonight, Arn? Put your face on, Rick. Um, Matt says, I remember that 4th of July. Didn't you try to relocate to another room in the house to reduce the noise or something? Yeah. Well, that was the one that I did the following year with Paul. It was after Living Dead weekend, and I did a Collecting the Dead episode with Paul, and I went downstairs into a different room because right here, I'm right by a window. And when they're shooting fireworks outside, it's like literally right there. But the year previous to that, um, I want to say it was 2023. It was like the first year I was doing this. And I want to say I was doing like the top 10 villains or something. I don't know. I was doing something. And it was literally like World War fucking 3 was going on outside, and I couldn't do it. I had to just stop midway, and I was just like, I'll just finish this some other time. We'll try again tomorrow or something. I couldn't do it. It was just unbearable because that's the thing. The people in this neighborhood, it's like they're competitive. When a holiday rolls around, Christmas lights, Halloween decorations, 4th of July, they're competitive. They want to have the biggest and loudest and brightest and most distracting shit they can possibly do. So, um, but yeah, so far so good. I haven't heard anything outside, so maybe they're wrapping it up early tonight since it's since it's a Sunday night. It's the 5th, not the 4th. Audio just dropped on your end. Okay, you're saying it's back. Okay, hopefully I'm okay. I haven't seen anybody else chiming in. We'll hang in there. We'll see. We'll see. Chintz 2D, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. 80s was the best era for music and movies. Man, I can't agree on movies. I would say the 70s I like better. I'm more of a 70s guy. I would say the 80s was like the beginning of the big blockbuster films, I would say. But music wise, man, yeah, music wise, there was a lot of the cocaine was good. That was one thing. I mean, that was a big driving force of the music in the 80s and the movies too on some level. But yeah, the 80s was a very experimental time for music, and we were getting a lot of new stuff, a lot of new sounds. Hip hop was in its infancy in the 80s. Electronic music, rock was horrible in the 80s. I'm sure some of you guys are hair metal guys or that stuff. I'm still to this day, if I hear Bon Jovi come on, I'm quick to fucking change the channel. Um, Although there was some good metal. I mean, you had the thrash stuff, so you had different categories of it. I don't know. I might tend to agree with you on that. The 80s was a pretty amazing decade for music. Pop music, like I said, birth of hip hop was really late 70s, but early 80s was really when it started to really take off with Rick Rubin, probably mid to late 80s. Yeah, I don't know. Tend to agree. I appreciate you, Jeff, and we need you around, my man. But we'll catch up some other time. Yeah. Speaking, I want to try to go Living Dead Weekend in October. Ken Foray is going back. Yeah, they announced Living Dead Weekend in October, and they've announced 3 guests already. The theme for the show, I guess, is reanimated. So it's a reanimated or a reanimator themed show, I guess. Living Dead Weekend. But they haven't announced anybody from Reanimator yet. I'm sure that's coming, or they wouldn't have based the whole show around it. So stay tuned for that. But they did announce Ken Foray. Ken Foray will be back one more time at the mall. And they did announce Linnea Quigley from Return of the Living Dead, who they couldn't get for the Return of the Living Dead reunion last October. So they're bringing her in, and Alan Troutman, who couldn't make it. He was booked for the one in October, but couldn't make it last October. So he's coming back then. Of course, that's Tarman. So 2 huge guests there from Return of the Living Dead that are going to be there. I'm curious. It's going to be an interesting Living Dead weekend in October. Um, I'm curious to see who they get because from what I've heard, it's going to be like a mishmash of guests that couldn't make it for other reunions, people they've been trying to get for a while but haven't gotten quite yet. Um, and I'm sure, and they're going to bring back Ken for Dawn of the Dead, of course, for one thing, but also if you're going to bring Jeffrey Combs and the Reanimator crew, bring in Ken, you got a From Beyond reunion as well, so you can get all your From Beyond shit signed as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who all they get. I've heard some names bounced around, and some pretty interesting ideas are in play right now. Of course, they did the big Dawn of the Dead, the final hurrah reunion was in June. That was the important one for me. But October, it's just really cool to be in Pittsburgh and at the mall and in that area in October, in the fall, right around Halloween. Yeah, it's a good time to visit, just the area in general. So we'll see. I think tickets are on sale now. I think you can. I think. I don't quote me on that. I do believe tickets are currently on sale. So, um, so we'll see. Happy 4th. So hot down here. Yeah, it's hot everywhere. Hot everywhere. Jeffson, yeah, Ken should definitely be there. He was in Reanimator. Uh, he was in From Beyond. I don't think he was in Reanimator, was he? Which again, you guys give me shit because I'm not the biggest Reanimator fan in the world, but I do believe that he's in From Beyond because I'm one of those weird cats that I think I like From Beyond better than I like Reanimator, actually. So that's just me. South Georgia, yeah, I bet. I know because Matt's right around in the Atlanta area, and I know he said that it was yeah, fucking fucking miserable. 45 minutes south of Atlanta, hot as Satan's ball sack. Exactly. I agree, Chance. Iron City needs to sponsor me, man. Come on, Cliff Forest, wherever you're at. I don't even need money. Just I can't get Iron City where I'm at. Like the case or two that I bring home from Living Dead weekend every year has to last me until the next time I'm in Pittsburgh. Sponsor me. Just ship me. I don't even know if you can do this, but just ship me a few cases of Iron City every month or so, and I'll put it over to the moon. But what's the point? I've been doing it anyway, and I'll continue to do it because it's fucking Iron City. And it is nice around the 4th of July to crack open an Iron City and and represent. Speaking of representing with the Iron City, Paul, what's going on, brother? This is Paul Farber saying, good evening. Just popping in and say hi. We'll watch live stream this week. Have a great one and a good night. You too, my man. I will talk to you soon, probably tomorrow. So, cocaine was a hell of a drug, as stated by Rick James. Yes, it was. But you know what? A lot of good stuff came out of that cocaine scene. I'm a fan. Williams just drawn it out in the Tifton area, swampy as fuck down here. I'm not sure geographically, Georgia, Tifton, how close or how far that is from Atlanta. But I do know that I think it's the Days of the Dead. It's going to be in Atlanta coming up soon. I don't remember the exact dates of it, but I did see that Howard Sherman was going to be in Atlanta for the Days of the Dead coming up. So if you haven't had a chance to meet Howard Sherman, that'd be a perfect chance to do that. It's going to be in your neck of the woods, sir. It's saying here in Arkansas, you could fry bacon in the crack of your ass. Hey, if you want to try that, I'll watch. I won't try it, but just out of curiosity, I would love to see if that would work out for you or how that would work out for you. Chin saying 80s had a lot of schlock movies. Maybe I'm just biased because that was my era, and yeah, Bon Jovi blows. I mean, trust me, there's a lot I loved about the 80s. I really like, if we're talking about horror films, the early 80s. To me, there was a lot of good stuff. You had the early slasher stuff, the Friday the 13th. Mid 80s, you had a lot of fun stuff. Even a lot of the stuff in the early 80s from Italy, I really dug. But I just think I know people give Quentin Tarantino a lot of shit for this when he talks about how the 80s was kind of one of the worst decades for movies. I don't fully agree with that, but I also kind of see where he's coming from because the 80s was, that era of where everything was starting to get a little um over sanitized, homogenized a little bit. I mean, that was the big blockbuster boom. Whereas in the 70s, it was just kind of like you never knew what was going to pop. There were all these different studios and all these smaller studios and all these indie films and indie filmmakers getting a chance to just make their films. And if they were good, they would get seen. If they weren't good, maybe they wouldn't get seen. But the 80s also brought, everything, shot on VHS, the home video, which was a big thing. I mean, that was awesome. So you had a lot of shit getting made, going straight to video back in the 80s too, because we have a shot on video. But also in that you also had a lot of gems too. So yeah, I don't know. I like I said, I don't fully agree with Tarantino. The 80s probably wouldn't be my favorite decade of films. I'm definitely more of a 70s fan, but yeah, I mean, compared to today, I mean, yeah, the 80s is like far and away better than what we've gotten in the past, what, 20 years or something like that. How could I forget Milli Vanilli? I'm sorry. Didn't they play at the fucking 4th of July bash or whatever? Or was there a rumor where I saw a list of like all these names of groups that were playing in Washington for the 4th of July, and Milli Vanilli, I think, was on that list alongside people like Vanilla Ice and CMC Music Factory. Or it's like, wow, all right. Rick, the North Going Llama, happy 4th of July to you, man. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Chin says, I seen Ken's speech at the Living Dead panel on YouTube, and he seemed ecstatic to be there. Man, I wish I could have went. Yeah, Ken's always a really good guy to have at these things because he's very reflective about his time working on Dawn of the Dead, his time at the mall, meeting the fans. I think, yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ken is just he's going to be there until the end. Like if they keep having Living Dead weekends at the mall, he'll be there. Because I really do think I think he really appreciates what that film did for him and his career, and you can kind of see it when he talks about it. Yeah, he's getting up there in age. He's slowing down a little bit because God, he's what, 70 something now, I would guess. But at this, but he's still sharp. He's still with it, and I think he really just enjoys celebrating this movie with the fans as much as anybody else. It's like I said last year at the what's it, the June show or the October show, the VIP party. He was there, and he just kind of went off by himself and just kind of sat and was just kind of taking it all in. You can kind of see that he was kind of reflecting on everything because that was like right before we went to that screening, and he had that amazing speech that he gave before the screening of Dawn of the Dead. So, Tarman's going to be there. Yes, Tarman will be there. Finally, he was supposed to be there in October. Couldn't make it. Cyan, what's going on, Cyan? Did you make Night Riders video members only? I can't watch it now. I did. So memberships are available now. I'm starting that. We're unveiling that slowly. Just started the Discord channel as well that you will have access to if you become a member. There's 2 tiers that you can join, become a member if you just want to support the channel. There's a $2 tier if you just want to say, hey, thanks, appreciate it. Go buy, you got, go buy a diaper or something, It's $2 tier, and then there's a $5 tier. We'll have access to a bunch of other stuff, including, members only live streams, members only videos. And like I said, both tiers come with the access to the Alfa Romero Discord channel, which we just started up today. So, but yeah, I did have to put those fan commentaries in a members only capacity for the time being, at least. So just become a member, Cyan, even though you're a part of it. If you want to watch it, just be a member, or I'll just send you the file. But I had to do it. It's because I used the footage from the movie to put over it and YouTube is a little touchy about that. Now, I don't want any issues with getting copyright strikes or anything like that. So, but if it's in the members only, I'm gonna put it over here and we'll see what happens. But but yes, memberships are available if you want to help sponsor the channel and get access to a lot of really cool stuff. I'm telling you, the Discord channel is going to be a lot of fun. I'm already putting a bunch of stuff over there that I can't put on this channel in terms of movies and videos and stuff. If you've never seen John Russo and Russ Striner's The Booby Hatch, you can see it over on the Discord channel. So and all you get, it's $2 a month, $2 a month. Which actually, I was looking at this earlier. Thank you for helping me bring this up, Cyan. I want to try this because I don't know how this works. I don't know how any of this fucking member stuff works. Just trying some different stuff here. Let me go on here. Just trying some different stuff here. Yep, there I am. All right. So earlier I saw, let's see, that I can gift some memberships to random people that are in here right now. I want to try this. This may work. It may not work. We'll see. Can I do that? Well, these aren't right. Where did I see that earlier? I know this is thrilling. But hey, like I said, I'm still trying to figure this out like everybody else. Let me try this. Maybe I can do this. I swear I saw this as an option a minute ago. There I am, my big ass head. There we go. Membership gifting. All right, I can send 5 membership gifts. Lucky recipients selected by YouTube get 1 month of access to perks from the Ritz. And like I said, there are 2 levels to this. First level, the cellar dwellers. For those of you that just want to kick in a few bucks and help me out, you get access to some extra stuff. Then there's also the Ritz, which is like the fancy, the high-end shit where you really get in deep. So I can send 5. I'm going to try this right now. We'll see how this works. I'm going to send 5 gifted memberships. I guess it's just picking random. All right, here we go. William Belasco, J-Day 63617, Geriatrics. That's a great name. 2351, Midnight Blue 45, and Greg Brewer 6005. So there you go. There you get you're the first members of the Alpha Romero channel officially. So, all right, cool. All right, that worked. That worked somehow, some way. All right. So there we go. Congratulations, guys. And yeah, we'll be adding some I'll be adding some more stuff, doing some more like members only live streams. Like I'll just pop on some nights. What I would like to do is to start doing some interviews with people, like some actual interviews with various actors and contributors to Romero's work from over the years, and doing those live. So if you have a Ritz tier membership, you're able to watch live, ask questions, interact. And then, of course, once the interview's over, cut it and release it to everybody. But it'd be cool to kind of have, live access to people. I don't know. I'm just coming up with fucking brain farting ideas and whatnot. And you can also go join the Discord now and hang out with all of us all the time. If you can't get enough of us, But all right. I should have gifted one to you, Cyan. I'm sorry. I don't think you could just pick it though. I think it's just like I said, it's just at random. All right, let's get back here. Mr. Foray was not in Reanimator. There you go. That's it. I got my Stuart Gordon films flipped. Granny says Matt's right by Camp Rolling Hills. That's right. Matt's around a lot of locations, filming locations for a lot of different horror films. So, there you go, Robert. I like From Beyond more also. Hell yeah. See, I know I wasn't alone on that. William says, my alarm goes off at 4. Y'all have a great night. Mine goes off an hour after that, and I'm going to be here for a little while longer. So pray for me. But have a good night, man. It was good to see you. Appreciate it. Mike, greetings from Baltimore. Is this Mike from Baltimore? The Scream King himself. What's up, man? Good to see you. It was good. Good. If this is you, good getting to chat with you at Living Dead Weekend. Always good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Matt says, I think Days of the Dead Atlanta is in January or February this time. Okay. And I knew it was coming up somewhere around the beginning of next year. And I knew that Howard Sherman was going to be there because it's like, I've recently realized that my Day of the Dead book, The Making of Day of the Dead by Lee Carr, that's like the thing that I get all of my Day of the Dead guests, like all my signatures on. So it's like covered. And for some reason, I have completely blanked out and haven't gotten Howard Sherman. I've gotten everybody else to fucking sign the thing that I can get my hands on. But I haven't gotten Howard Sherman, of all people, Bub. Haven't got him to sign it yet. So I was like, yeah, it would be a good excuse to take a day trip down to Atlanta and see Matt and the family. You know, we'll see. We'll see. All right. Hold the fort. Hold the fort. Here we go.
You never know.
Money, money, money. Right.
Grande 1999. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. You didn't have to do that. Happy to see how much your channel has grown. The show is fantastic. The cult of Alpha Romero is running wild. We're a cult now. I'm the Jim Jones, I guess, of crazy Romero fans. I'll take it, I guess. I'll take it. Congratulations. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And I look, like, you were there from the beginning, man. You've been a supporter since like day one. Since we first, I think we like discovered each other's channels and then immediately met at Living Dead Weekend, like later that week or something like that, and just immediately hit it off. You're one of the coolest dudes I know, and yeah, anytime you want to come on, anytime you want me to come on, let's do something together, man. I want to do a Tales from the Dark Side retrospective. I'd love to do like a series of shows with you on Tales from the Dark Side, because you're the Tales from the Dark Side guy, and I'm the guy that needs to learn about this shit, because I never was a big Tales from the Dark Side guy. So we need to do the Darksiders, man. We need to do Darksiders. Let's do it. But thanks again, man. I really appreciate that. Let's see. I saw Riverman popping in here. Hope everyone had a good 4th. Hope you had a good 4th too, man. I saw poor Aaron. Looks like he had a pretty hot 4th of July. That man's burnt redder than a dog's dick. Which I would have been, but luckily I discovered this magical serum called sunscreen that I put on yesterday. So I'm a little red. I got a little color, not as ghostly white as I usually am. So, but yeah, good to see you, man. Hope you had a good 4th too. Corey Clement, 5757. What's going on, brother? Says first time here from Philly. Philly SWAT. Hell yeah. Been looking for. There was a guy on the homepage of the Dead forums back in the day, and his name was Philly SWAT, and that's like the one guy I'll always remember. The one name from homepage of the Dead I'll always remember is Philly SWAT, because I always thought it was the coolest fucking thing. Been looking for a solid Sunday Night Live podcast. Hearing 80s horror mentioned means I'm in the right place. Yes, you are. We're going to be talking all kinds of fun shit here tonight, so stay tuned. But glad you found us, and hope you enjoy it. And yeah, we'll be back. Like I said, I usually do these on Saturday night, but like I said, last night was 4th of July, and Sunday was kind of the best night to do this. So, but hey, glad you found us either way. Matt says, speaking of Days of the Dead, are you going to the Indianapolis event this month? I was thinking about it because I know Norman England. I think he said he was going to be there, and I just ordered his book on the set of Resident Evil 2. Really looking forward to reading that. like to get him back on the channel once I've read it. Love to talk about it. Love to help him promote that, because I mean, it's just one of those blind spots of George's career, that time period there where he's doing the commercial, and I'm just so fascinated by that whole era there where Romero was supposed to be doing the Resident Evil movies, doing all the screenplays, he did the commercials, and one reason or another it never happened. So I love talking to guys like him, who was there on the set of the commercial over in Japan, or talking to guys like Brandon and Tom, that really have done their work and done their research into the history of that whole experience for George. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I think I think he's supposed to be there at that Indie now. That's what I heard when I talked to him last. I haven't talked to him about that here in a while, but that would be pretty cool. I'd love to be like one of the only opportunities I'd probably get to actually meet Norman in person. So I would I'd actually like to do that if I can. So we got people saying, "Hey, hello, how you doing?" I'm hearing that, man. I take a 3-hour nap today to recover for work tomorrow. Yeah. Tomorrow's gonna be rough. But I've been dragging ass since Living Dead weekend, since I got back. Like it's been awful, and it's getting hotter, and I'm just sweating to death every day. It's not fun. Steven says, I don't agree with Tarantino completely, but I understand his point. The 80s was the rise of corporate filmmaking, but there were still great films. The 70s had amazing quirkiness. Yeah, I think that's kind of my thought too, is like the 80s was like the beginning of the big studios kind of taking over the major theaters, the big multiplex theaters. The drive-in theaters were going away, the grindhouse theaters were going away. But again, it's like there's like a meme or a picture that you see from like 1987, and it's the show times for the movies that were playing at the time, and you had like Full Metal Jacket, RoboCop, Predator, The Lost Boys, all playing on the same weekend, and it's just like, God damn, like, what do you pick? Like, just do it all. Like, I'll go see all of those. Whereas now I go to the theater and I'm like, I'm in the movie to go see a movie. I'm in the mood to go see a movie tonight. I wonder what's playing. I got the night off. What's playing? And you look, and it's just like, I have zero interest in seeing any of this shit. And half the movies that are playing now in a theater just look like shit that you could see on streaming on Amazon Prime or something like that. It's just not the same, And yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I'm yeah, you're talking me to the 80s was a pretty awesome time for movies. People saying hello. Couldn't release a film like Electra Glide in blue today. Probably not. Mardi Gras, what's going on, man? Do I have to be jumped in to be a member? Jumped in as in like gang initiation? No. It's monthly. You can cancel anytime. Like I said, I think I had the fucking prices mixed up, but it's like $2 or $3 for the low tier. You get early access to videos and stuff like that. Actually, I think there's also you have access to like some specific Alpha Romero related emojis that you can use on here. I don't know. Like I said, I'm still playing with it. I'm still figuring it out, but we'll get there. Just something else to kind of broaden the horizons of what I can do, because YouTube is very fucking anal about what you can do, what you can post, what you can't post, all that shit. So I like the Discord idea because you can really do whatever you want. It's exactly like the old days of the forums back in the day, where you can just post what you want, say what you want, as long as you guys are not being hateful and assholes to everybody or spamming us to death with stuff. Like, fucking come play, that's my motto. Jeff saying, yeah, I saw the video clip of Ken just sitting on that bench and like meditating and looking around. It was pretty deep. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where it's like you kind of want to go talk to him, but you're just like, just let him have his moment. Just let him have his moment. Matt saying, are the commentaries that are members only the ones that you laid the films over, the live streams? The live streams are still available. All the live streams, pretty much, all the live streams, all the videos are still available for everybody. It's just the commentaries that I put the movies over and actually had the movies playing while you can hear us getting drunk and making jokes or whatever. You can hear like Paul taking a piss or something like that in the background. Those I'm just gonna make. I just have to make those members only, because YouTube is kind of anal about that. So, but the actual live streams, these live streams that I do every weekend will always be free. Videos will always be free. If you're a member, you get access to the videos. Any videos that I drop, you get an access to them 24 hours earlier than everybody else. And like I said, if you're a Ritz tier member, you get access to some members only videos and members only polls. You guys can help me choose, watch alongs, fan commentaries. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm experimenting with some different ideas and some different things, but I wanted to make it as interactive and as fun as possible. Because there are some channels out there. It's like, be a member, and it's like you get nothing, maybe a video a month or something like that. And it's like I want to try to stay as proactive as possible with this and really experiment and try some fun stuff. Especially with like some of them, like if the members only live streams, just putting a link in the chat and just saying, okay, members, if you want to come on live and then hang out and chat with me for an hour or so, come on, link is in the chat, come on in. And that's something that I've always wanted to do, because it's kind of like what Art Bell used to do with like open lines, where it's just like you just put the phone number out there and see who the hell calls in. I always wanted to do something kind of like that, but you're kind of weird, because I've heard some horror stories of people that do that on just like an open live stream, like we're doing tonight, open for everybody. And then all of a sudden you get some guy that pops in just like beating his meat, and you're just like, oh shit. I don't want that. But if you're a member, I trust you enough if you want to come on and hang out and fucking talk some Romero, you're more than welcome. So stuff like that is kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah. Science said it's all good. I have to pay to watch myself. No, you can still watch yourself. You can still watch yourself. Like I said, the live streams are still free. But if you want to hear yourself, if you just want to hear yourself and watch Night Riders, yeah, then I'm laughing at this so much. I'm stoned. Lucky. I wish I was stoned. It'd be really interesting. If I just go in here, just blitz out of my mind. I may have not done that previously in the past. I'm not going to incriminate myself in any way, but yeah, totally fine tonight though. Just Little Iron City. Now, Will, that's a different story. The booty hatch. I don't know that one. The booty hatch. The booby hatch, maybe. Why didn't that win an Academy Award? Is anyone's guess? I agree. I think it's a very powerful film, and I don't understand why Russo and Striner. I don't know why that didn't just catapult their career into a different stratosphere. I don't know. But if you've never seen it and you want to check it out, it's over on the Discord. You can get access to that Discord through the memberships. So, all right, I'll quit honking and shit. I'm glad I'm entertaining. You're very welcome, William. Like I said, it's free membership for a month, and you can renew if it's something you think you'd be interested in, you want to, be a part of. But if not, like I said, you can cancel anytime and just dig the free stuff. Because, like I said, nothing's going to change on here. I'm not going to stop doing stuff. I'm going to try to start doing more, and really, being a little more proactive on certain social medias, more videos, more interactive stuff, I guess. Mike, it's me. Awesome. There you go. I can't see it on my end, but on YouTube you can see it's got the dummies emoji going on there. Very cool. Yeah, man, I really, really, really had a good time last time we came down to Atlanta. Me and Will took the trip down to Atlanta. Got a chance to visit Dwayne Jones's gravesite. And got to hang out with Matt and Stephanie and the family, and went to Days of the Dead. And Matt showed us around his old stomping grounds in Atlanta. And yeah, it was a great trip. Love to come back and do that. So we'll see, man. If I can make it happen, we'll see. I'd like to do that. Mardi Gras, I didn't know Bud was still alive. Oh yeah, Howard Sherman's still alive and kicking. Very, very nice guy. It really stood out to me last June when they had the Day of the Dead reunion at Living Dead Weekend, and Howard Sherman was there. He was signing for the least of everybody there. I mean, he was only $40 for a signature, which is unheard of. Everybody else was $60, somewhere around there. Like all the other cast members and stuff that were there were $60, $70 or something like that. He was 40 and was just busy all weekend. Um, but yeah, I've met him a couple of times in the past. I didn't get him to sign my goddamn book for some reason. I've gotten an 8x10 signed by him, and I got a poster signed by him, I think. But I've been him a couple of times, and just a very nice guy. Absolutely, man, absolutely. Yeah, friends for life, man. And I look forward to our fantasy football discussions and drafts and league again this year because I have a championship to defend, sir. You know, I had to come in and show all you guys how to fucking play fantasy football. So hopefully I didn't scare you guys off and I'm invited back for this season. But we'll see. Suzanne, what's going on, Suzanne? Good to see you. Howard Sherman will be at a signing in a couple of weeks at the last toy store. I saw that too in Maryland. I have press book Day of the Dead. I'm hoping to get signed. Very cool. Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, he's kind of making the rounds here, which is pretty fucking cool. The grind says Corey Clement from Philly. You're not a former NFL running back for the Eagles, are you? You're a Super Bowl hero. That's right. I forgot about Corey Clement. Yeah. Wow. That's a fucking pull. That's a blast from the past. Holy shit. Matt saying Norman's Resident Evil 2 book is absolutely fantastic. You're going to love it. Norman is one of my favorite people. Yeah, super cool guy. I'd really like to get him back on the channel to talk about that and just talk about anything in general, whatever the hell he wants to talk about. Because I could listen to that guy talk literally for hours like we did last time. We did 4.5 hours last time Norman was on, and I can do another 4.5. And I know you mentioned the next time he's on, you want to join in on that, and you're absolutely 100% more than welcome to. I think that would be really cool. Grande, totally agree, Matt. Norman was really nice when I met him. I had no idea who he was. I know I tried to send you a message or something because I knew you were meeting him because he is like the manager of I can't remember her name, but you were there to meet her and he was managing her, or he was her handler or whatever. And I remember saying, I was like, dude, Norman England is like the ultimate like Romero fan. Like, talk to him about George. He would love that. And I think I sent that too late or something like that. But yeah, just super cool guy. Garrett, born to be rad. What's going on, brother? Anchor Bay all the way. That's the topic for tonight. And I was gonna mention, I've been watching a lot of this building up to this, but if you guys are interested, if you guys are Anchor Bay fans, check out. It's called Anchor Bay Archives, the Anchor Bay Archives podcast that Garrett hosts with Wes from over at Dead Pit. Just type in Anchor Bay Archives. They have Felsher on. They have, I think Mike Ortiz was on one time with Felsher talking about some of the old Anchor Bay releases. It's if you're an Anchor Bay fan, if you want to go back and revisit the good old days of Anchor Bay, like when we were getting quality physical media, like the Night of the Living Dead 30th anniversary edition on VHS, go back, check it out. Anchor Bay Archives. Can't recommend that enough. It's awesome. Good to see you, man. Mr. Anchor Bay himself. I'm missing quite a few titles, even for Romero stuff. I'm missing quite a few titles, but I'm pretty sure fucking Garrett, out of all people, have literally everything that Anchor Bay ever released. It's pretty insane. It's saying for anyone in the state surrounding Arkansas, the Little Rock Comic Con has Adrian Barbeau and Kane Hodder in September. They finally are starting to book horror movie icons. Very cool. Adrian I've never met Kane, but I have met Adrian a couple of times. Couldn't ask for a nicer person to meet. So sweet, so appreciative of the fans, like everything you'd hope that Adrian Barbeau would be. And for somebody that's been in so many like classic films over the years, from Creepshow to all the Carpenter stuff like Escape from New York and The Fog, and super awesome woman. So yeah, if you get a chance, if you're going to that, Ed, I definitely highly recommend meeting Adrian. I'm sure Kane is great as well. I've never met Kane Hodder, but I've heard nothing but good things about him either. So very cool. Jacob Servin 92. What's going on, man? You should do a 3 versus 3 on which is the better movie, Dawn or Day, or something. Your video of pick your zombie fighting team was goated. A lot of people like that. The fucking ultimate zombie survival squad draft. I'm gonna have to do something like that. Like a debate, because I know people that love Romero that will debate what is better, Day versus Dawn. One thing I would like to do, maybe something here in the next couple of weeks, actually, because I've been kind of planning it out a little bit, like a live stream idea, because a lot of people like to kind of shit on Romero's final 3 to 4 films of his career, the Canadian stuff from like Bruiser, Land, Diary, Survival. I would love to do my kind of like what I would call like a Fright Master Final Four, where we put Romero's final 4 films versus Wes Craven's final 4 films, or Toby Hooper's final 4 films, and really see how they compare to, Romero's contemporaries that he came up with. Because I think if you really look at it and you really break it down by like IMDb rating, Rotten Tomatoes, you look at like the budgets of the films, the box office of the films, I think it would make for a really interesting conversation, a really interesting debate. Because man, some of those like Toby Hooper, some of those movies, the final films that like Hooper did are really fucking rotten. And I love Toby Hooper, but man, those final 4 were kind of rough. And you can kind of say the same thing for Wes too, maybe outside of like Scream 4 or something, maybe. But yeah, but I think that would be kind of an interesting debate to have on a few different people, and really debate, because people always give Romero shit for those final films, and I don't think they're as bad as people make them out to be, especially when you compare them to some of his counterparts at the end of their careers. So I think that would be kind of an interesting concept for a show too. But stay tuned for that. Matt says, "Wait, are we not supposed to beat our meat when we're on live streams?" Not supposed to, but Michelle, you beat me to it. Somebody tell Will. Yeah, I've already had that conversation with Will. I think he's calming down. The boy's calming down just a little bit. But no, technically you're not supposed to, but really it depends. Like right now from this angle, like you really couldn't tell what I would be doing right now, because I usually keep my hands down here anyway. So, it's like if you can be discreet about it, go for it. But, just don't aim the camera down and get a good, spread eagle shot or anything like that. You got to be discreet, discretion. Exactly. Pull your pants up, wash your hands, move on. Played out 148. What's going on, brother? Please clear this up for me. What is the name of the gun store in Dawn 78? So the name of the gun store is Firearms Unlimited. Where they actually shot it was Firearms Unlimited, but there's the section, it's a sporting store, but it's Firearms Unlimited, but it's also Gunner's Dens is a part of that as well. It's kind of confusing. Maybe somebody else. If Paul was still in here, he'd be the perfect guy to kind of explain that and how that all worked. But I've heard it references both Gunner's Dens and Firearms Unlimited. So take your pick. If anybody wants to correct the record on that, please feel free, because I'm not 100% sure. Now, what it's named in the movie, I have no idea. Yeah, exactly. Bub's autograph and picture with him for only $40. Such a cool dude. Very, very much so. All right. Matt saying he'd love to do that. I don't remember. Maybe the Norman England thing I was talking about. A little bit behind, but anything that I'm doing, you're always welcome, Matt. You know that. Bit of a nerd. What's going on? Just dropped from New Zealand. What's going on, man? All the way from New Zealand. Very cool. The home of Peter Jackson, and one of the best zombie films ever made, Dead Alive. So good to see you. Welcome. Chin, man, I couldn't imagine being SWAT or police officer in Philly during the zombie outbreak. Survival rate would be pretty much at 0. It'd be pretty fucking rough, yeah. And zombies would be kind of your, the least of your problems, I think. Or Chicago, or one of those spots for sure. Yeah, Howard Sherman's been in a lot of stuff. Plato said he had a cameo in Seinfeld's one of Elaine's boyfriends. Yeah, Howard Sherman's been in a lot of stuff. He's been a working actor for years. You could probably see him pop up in quite a few different things. Chin says, I would pick Dawn. That group actually worked together despite Roger losing his mind. They were a pleasant group to be around. Rhodes' group from Day was full of hard asses that couldn't get along. Yeah, it'd be a if I had to pick who I'd have to hang out with and be around, for sure it's the Dawn crew. But yeah, it's an interesting debate, because there are some people that just don't get Dawn and just love Day, and then vice versa. So, and it's always interesting to find out like the hardcore Romero fans where they fall on that, because there are some that just like Dawn of the Dead is everything. Day of the Dead they never quite got. I've been listening to a podcast here recently with it's called Profondo Cinema from back in the day with Eric Kent and Jay Scott, and they fall on the, I don't know if things have changed, but at the time they kind of fell on like can't stand Day of the Dead, we love Dawn of the Dead, and these are two huge Romero fans. So it's always interesting to see who comes out. What do they like? Where do they stand on this stuff? It would be an interesting conversation for sure. Shell says, I like those final four Romero films, especially Bruiser, which I love. Same here. Same here. Matt saying we need to do a discussion on Bruiser, why it sucks, but also why it's awesome. We'll just ride the roller coaster of emotions with Matt, where he's just like, I hate this movie. And it's like, well, it's not so bad. And it's like, I kind of like it. And he's like, Matt's had a real evolution on Bruiser, and I'm proud of you for it, buddy. A bit of a nerd says, without Day, there wouldn't be Dawn. If you play the Romero films back to back over days each night, the later Romero films make more sense and seem better, in my opinion. There you go. There's a different opinion. What if it's a medical emergency, the beating of the meat? Well, I mean, if you got to do what you got to do, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean? So, just turn the camera off. You can do that pretty easily on here. If all of a sudden, which I know if you're you, Steven, I know if you're on a stream or something with old Michelle over here, you might have to do what you got to do. Just turn the camera off, take care of business. You can turn the mic off too. We don't want to hear the grunts and groans that go along with it. But anyway, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. We're supposed to be talking about Anchor Bay. We're about an hour in. We'll get to it here. Let me finish up. I got a few more comments here. I'll say hi to some folks I haven't said hi to yet. Matt says, I love/hate. Have a love-hate relationship with Bruiser now instead of a hate-hate. Well, see, you're coming around. You're coming around. It just takes a little time. Eric still dislikes Day. I remember on the WGON podcast, I remember he was saying, I'm starting to come around on it a little bit, but I haven't had that conversation with him yet. I'm actually trying to get Eric on the channel, but we'll see what happens in the future. We'll definitely discuss Day of the Dead if and when I can ever get him to join in here. Oh, talking about Night of the Living Dead, there wouldn't be Dawn. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Yeah. Without Night, there definitely wouldn't be Dawn for sure. A little voice. Day was George's favorite of the original trilogy. The man has spoken. It's the best one. Yes. I get that. And I know that George loved Day of the Dead, but also at the same time, George also looked at his films differently than his fans did a lot of the time. For George, a successful film was one that looked good, was in focus, edited properly. It was all about the technical aspects of it. And while Day is technically a better made film, from a just a technical aspect, better made film than Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead or Martin or any of those films that came before that, I think he's judging it because he would always talk about how much he liked Land of the Dead and all that, but to me George is just looking at it from the technical aspect of as opposed to looking at it as a fan of these films. So while I do understand that was George's favorite because it was probably technically pulled off the best out of especially that original trilogy, I tend to think Dawn of the Dead will always be one of the greatest films ever made. But George never saw it that way. He was just like, look at all this shit. Yeah, you can see, all George ever saw in his films were the mistakes. Like I saw Night of the Living Dead in theater 2008, and George was supposed to be there, and he was supposed to be in the theater watching with us. But he sat there for about 10 minutes before he stood up and left. And then I remember somebody asking him at one of the panel discussions or something at the convention the following day, he was like, what do you think of Night of the Living Dead? And he was like, yeah, I I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get why you guys like it so much. Like and somebody asked me, was like, yeah, I noticed you kind of walked out of the theater last night. He's like, yeah, I've just seen it so many times, and all I can see when I watch it I just see the mistakes. I just see all the shit that didn't work, and it drives me crazy. And I get that as somebody who, any creative person, whether you're a musician, filmmaker, YouTuber, whatever, it's like all you can focus on are the shit that doesn't work. Like if you're a comedian, the comedians always say like you can be, killing with the rest of the crowd, but if there's one guy in the very front that's just sitting there, arms crossed, blank expression, not responding to anything you're saying, like that's the only thing you're focusing on. The 99%, you're just like you can't hear it, you can't see it. You're just focused on that 1% that and that's just, it's almost like an artist curse almost or something like that. But yeah, that's a big can of worms to open. But Matt says Profondo Cinema is great. The Gornick interview is fantastic. Lee Carr's interviews are too. Yeah, I'm getting there. Dude, you sent that link to the Lee Carr interview sometime back, and I started listening to that, and I've just been going back and listening to the entire show from the start. And it's I love shit like that. Like it's just hardcore nerding out. So I really dig it. I wonder whatever happened to Jay Scott though. You don't hear from him too much these days. And from what I hear, he lives like right down the road from me in Vincennes, which is like a 45-minute drive from here. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I haven't heard that name in a long time. Larry, what's going on, brother? It says the Profondo episode where they do a commentary on Day is hilarious as they rip it apart. They must have been drunk. I've been cracking up, and I told Eric this when I was like, dude, I've gone back and listened to those episodes, and you guys are fucking hilarious together, because there was an episode where they were talking about Land of the Dead, and Jay Scott was just tearing it apart. And he got to the point where he was like, Land of the Dead is the Phantom Menace of the Romero trilogy, and fucking Big Daddy is the Jar Jar Binks. And I lost it. I was like, fucking perfect. Yeah, Big Daddy is the Jar Jar Binks of the Romero trilogy. But, he's still making it work for him. There's a place for Big Daddy. Let's see. Jacob says, hate to say it, but I love Day much more than Dawn. However, I think the first 15 minutes of Dawn are absolutely insane. Interesting. See, I love hearing takes like that, because I've always thought my least favorite aspect, my least favorite part of Dawn is the first 15 minutes. I love it. I mean, I love the movie as a whole, but until they get to the mall, I never feel like I can just settle in and just, embrace everything. I don't know. I'm just a mall guy. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. The grunts and groans of true horror. Yeah, that's what it would be. Steven says exactly if she's wearing one of those. Okay. All right. Hey, I'll take the blame on that one. I got you started. I'm sorry. Me too, Suzanne. Day of the Dead definitely had to grow on me as well. First time I saw it, I didn't like it at all. Like, I was just like, ugh, what is it? These people are just fucking talking and yelling at each other. I don't get it. And I remember like fast forwarding the first time I saw it, just fast forwarding to like the gore parts, because I was like 13, 14 years old at the time. So I was wanting another Dawn of the Dead. I love Dawn of the Dead. I wanted Dawn of the Dead Part 2, which is what everybody wanted. But again, kind of like Carpenter's The Thing or something like that, it just took some years to kind of grow on you and really just, like The Thing just kind of implant itself in you or something. I don't know. Let's see. 1997, Mark and Carlo. What's going on? Just recently bought George A. Romero's Empire of the Dead comics. That's interesting. I have actually never checked those out. So I would be curious if you want to swing back in here once you're taking a look at those. Let me know about those, because I've actually I see them on eBay all the time, but I just never think to grab them, because I'm not really a comic guy. I'm not a big comic book guy as it is. But I've always kind of been curious about how those, because that was really one of the last things George was a part of before he passed away. So very cool. Very cool. Let me know about those. Ed's George saw Night like he saw his wives, just the mistakes. Yeah, probably. Suzanne says, I hated Dawn because it gave me so many nightmares. I rented it on VHS when I was 12. However, immersed myself in order to desensitize. 30 plus years later, I'm here with all of you. There you go. See, this is like a therapy session here, an online therapy session. So, a bit of a nerd says Dawn 78 is ultimately my favorite. I have a DVD with 3 versions, including the Argento version. And we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about that version. Or no, actually, you're talking about an Umbrella release. Okay, well, yeah, you're New Zealand, so you probably got some pretty killer foreign releases, don't you? Very cool. John's still around. Okay. Yeah, I guess I just don't see him posting too much, or maybe I'm just missing it or something. I don't know. Jay Scott is a great dude. He still comments on my post here and there. I loved those guys together. Profondo is probably my favorite podcast ever. Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Like I said, I that's all I've pretty much been listening to for the past couple of weeks. So, Mike says, get your Big Daddy autograph now before Twilight comes out. $200 in his own room, calling it now. I'm telling you, man, if Eugene scores a role in this upcoming Twilight of the Dead sequel or whatever it's going to be, forget it. Like if that dude's charging what $90 plus tax now, he's gonna be like Robert fucking England. Yeah, he's gonna be like Kurt Russell prices. So yeah, get him while you can. I don't know if that's gonna happen though or not. We'll see. I don't know which direction they took that script, but I do know in the original treatment for Twilight of the Dead, Big Daddy was in it. So we'll see. Larry's having a real emotional moment here. He's like, I wish that Axel and Jay Scott were still together doing a show. I miss it. Yeah, I think that would be great. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I guess that's why I just assumed that Jay Scott was just kind of out of the scene because I don't know why they stopped. I guess after a while, especially when you're doing a podcast and you have a live, like I can tell you, like just doing a YouTube channel and doing a live stream and once a week and maybe a video once a week and just trying to work and get everything put together, and it's a lot of fucking work and a lot of dedication, a lot of time, a lot of effort, especially when you have a full-time job and a family and you're trying to balance, you're spinning a lot of plates. So I totally get it why, after a while it's just kind of like, all right, well, we've said what we're going to say. It's time to move on, time to pack it up. So I get it. Steven says, I've grown to love Day as well, but it's such a different hit from Dawn. I'm not surprised people have trouble getting into it, but I'd recommend to any newbie stick with it. It's definitely worth it. I agree. Give it a few views. And I got a video coming out soon. I'm doing another like watch along reaction video to the old Siskel and Ebert review of Day of the Dead from back in the day. It's kind of interesting, It's kind of they kind of had the same response and the same reaction to it that I had the first time I saw it. So that was an interesting one to watch, especially coming off of the Dawn of the Dead one that I did, where they both enthusiastically loved Dawn of the Dead. So, Matt saying, Larry, I talked to Eric about that. I know he'd love to. I don't think John is available to. Don't want to speak for him though. Yeah, like I said, it's a big commitment doing, especially if you're trying to stay on a regular schedule and drop a podcast a week or something like that. It can get draining. It can get really, really overwhelming sometimes. So I've been there. There are still weeks where I'm just like, God damn, like I got a lot to do, especially now you got a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old, and it's a lot to balance. So I totally get it. Big Daddy thinks he's Paul Newman or some shit. I gotta give him credit though, man. I mean, yeah, he is a little pricey for his autograph and stuff, but he really gets into it. He's got the full outfit, the contacts. I mean, he really gets into character. So I mean, he tries to give you your money's worth. But I mean, he's a hell of a salesman, and we'll say that. But I do give him credit. He does show up in full fucking Big Daddy gear, so yeah, I appreciate him for that. All right, let's talk fucking Anchor Bay. Over an hour into this sucker, and I got a whole stack of shit here. I'm not gonna go through like chronologically and really like dig in. I'm just gonna pull some shit out. We'll talk about it. You guys talk to me. some memories, some thoughts, some reflections on some of these releases. Because these, I mean, I think we're all of the age where. So Anchor Bay to me was kind of my introduction to a lot of my favorite films, because Anchor Bay was kind of that first company to really, like, they were not a boutique label because they were pretty mainstream. I mean, they were their physical media back then was a lot different than what it is now, where you have like your Severns and your Synapses and your Scream Factories and your Second Sights and all that, and it's a limited run and it's for a very niche audience. Whereas back in the day, Anchor Bay, I mean, you would find Anchor Bay in Walmart. I mean, it was everywhere. You would find these titles anywhere and everywhere back in the day, because Anchor Bay was a company that were taking these old cult films that hadn't gotten a release, especially on DVD up to that point, and were releasing them for the first time since they're probably since the '80s probably. I mean, Anchor Bay was really my introduction to a lot, especially like the Italian stuff, the Argento films, the Fulci films. I remember, and this was back when you could find Anchor Bay titles for $10 to $15 a piece. So I would save money through the week, save lunch money, stuff like that, and then go to my local FYE or my local On Q. We had a place called On Q, where you'd go to the horror section and you just see all of these titles, all these DVDs, all these VHS titles, and you would just pick and you would just say, "Oh, this looks awesome. I'm gonna get it." And the seal of approval that would always kind of sell it after a while, because I started recognizing the logo for Anchor Bay. That was really, like, I would say, like, as a wrestling fan when I was a kid growing up, Coliseum Home Video was kind of like that. Like, if I saw a Coliseum Home Video, I'd be like, "Oh, this is a WWF tape." But outside of that, like, Anchor Bay was the first one that when you saw that, the explosion and the sailboat, do, 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 it's like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. Whether it was good or not, you never knew, but you trusted it. You trusted that it was something you were going to like because it was Anchor Bay. And I guess we'll start with this one, since it's been brought up a couple of times tonight, and I've already kind of showed it. But I do have a couple of copies here. Now, I think there were 4 different releases of this at the time. This was in 1998 when these came out. And we'll start hot here. I know which one you guys all want to talk about. But so in 1998, I have the okay, so I had the dates written down here just so I remember. So 1998, Anchor Bay released the VHS of the Night of the Living Dead Collector's Edition, the 30th anniversary, with the extra footage shot by John Russo and Russ Streiner and Carl Hardman and everybody. There's the DVD. This is the reissue DVD. Now, there is a DVD out there that is like a 2-disc. It comes with the 30th anniversary edition. I think it also comes with, which I think that's what this is a just a restored version of the original film, but with a new score. It has the new score from, what's his face? Fucking Anton LaVey. But this is like a reissue that came out a few years after. And I think there's a version that comes out with the CD soundtrack with it as well. This was an interesting one because they had released Night of the Living Dead on VHS a few years prior. But they were going to do this 30th anniversary edition because I think it was an idea from John Russo, and the old Image 10 guys, the old Latent Image guys, whatever you want to call them. I don't think Heinzman was. Well, yeah, I guess he was involved because he was he's the zombie in this thing. You can actually. I don't have a. He's okay. So if you haven't seen the 30th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't say you got to go out of your way to see this thing. Basically, what they did. Here's a DVD. There you can see Heinzman there reprising his role as the cemetery ghoul. Basically, what they did is they went back and shot about 15 minutes of new footage. And Russo has claimed that they used the same camera that they used back in '68. They tried to make it as true to the original as possible. But when you're going back 30 years later and using the same actors to reprise roles, Bill Heinzman's cemetery ghoul that looks nothing like he did in the movie, and then trying to seamlessly incorporate it into the original film with a whole new score, as opposed to the Capitol High Q score, the needle drop music that they used in the original. It was really fucking confusing, and even for me as like a new fan who was just now like around this time just discovering Night of the Living Dead, I remember seeing the 30th anniversary edition. And at first I was like, wow, is this like deleted footage that they put back in? Or like I was really, really fucking confused because I was aware and familiar enough with the original Night of the Living Dead at that point that it was just, just a really, really fucking confusing experience for me as a child. But I gotta say, like, of all the things, like the music, I don't hate the music, and I know I get shit for this from certain people. Like, I don't hate the new score on this. I know, I still prefer the original, of course, but I never hated the score on this. I think this is just I've never looked at this. I own 2 copies of this. I've never watched either one of these. I just have them just because I fucking have them. But I think this is just the original film with the new score. I don't think this has any of the extra added scenes to it. I believe. I could be wrong. There we go. There's a little more light to it there. And it's interesting because of the way they sell it, it's kind of confusing as well. I think a lot of people bought it thinking they were just getting a restored version of Night of the Living Dead. And not and once they popped it in and they start seeing it's because it's a new intro, it's a new beginning of the film. New scenes, new characters, awful fucking characters, some awful fucking acting. It really does look like, Jack Russo and the boys went in and spent $20 to, and I guess the idea was because this was right around the time that, I guess Star Wars had done kind of a similar thing where they added new footage and all that stuff. So they were trying to repackage and resell Night of the Living Dead to a new audience. And this was their idea of how to do that to kind of give them something new, I guess. I don't know. But it's become pretty. I mean, this is the only version of this that you can buy. This is the only. They've never re-released it. It's never had a Blu-ray release. Which, if Vinegar Syndrome's listening, may give them an idea. But you can only get this version on this DVD or the VHS from Anchor Bay back in the day, and I think they were the exclusive distributors of this. So there's 4 versions of it out there. It's the only way that you can get it or see it. Yeah, I mean it's a real confusing decision that they made, and I've often wondered. I've never really heard George talk about it, how he felt about it, how he thought, what he thought about it. But I always kind of got the vibe that George was just like, whatever, do whatever you guys want to do with it. It's fine. I'm gonna be over here trying to get fucking Resident Evil made or something like that, Yeah, it's just it's an interesting. It's not good. It's not good. But if you're a Romero fan, if you're a completionist like me, and you need multiple copies of it for some god awful reason, yeah, this is the only way you're going to get it. It's not, like I said, not on Blu-ray. It doesn't have a 4K, restoration from Scream Factory yet, which again may give them an idea. But yeah, this 30th anniversary edition is something else, or a hot pile of shit, as Matt puts it. That's a good way to put it too. I worked at Deluxe Media that manufactured Anchor Bay DVDs, and they always optioned to use the high-end raw materials, so they were not a cheap company. That's why their disc quality still holds up. It really does. Like, especially on some of these that we'll get to here in just a second. Really does. Like, still to this day, like, some of these DVDs still really look good, even on the new, like, HD TVs and shit that people have. They were quality for the most part. I mean, they did what they could with some of this stuff. But Granny says, I to this day want the Martin Purple and Yellow DVD and the Season of the Witch Vanilla 2-pack from Anchor Bay. If you're bringing it up, man, let's talk about it. Because I got them. Got a few versions of it here. So yes, the Season of the Witch, There's Always Vanilla flipper disc DVD version of this. This was my introduction to There's Always Vanilla. I had never seen There's Always Vanilla until this, and this was really a big reason why I bought this to begin with, was because this was really the only way that you could see There's Always Vanilla at the time. There were some VHS releases from some underground labels that if you could find it, you could find it. but this was the first like mass release of There's Always Vanilla. So this is one's like it's like the flipper disc, where it's Season of the Witch on one side, There's Always Vanilla on the other. Really, really terrible transfers on these. I mean, they were pretty much shrunk. So, like, you're just missing a whole lot when you're watching this film. Luckily, Arrow has done a bang up job of bringing both of these films out on Blu-ray, and they look fantastic. But I remember I wasn't a big fan of Season of the Witch at the time. It took me a long time to kind of wrap my head around what Season of the Witch was. So I didn't really get into Season of the Witch at the time. I do love this Hungry Wives poster. Hungry Wives. Season of the Witch was one that I really started to come around on when I saw that Arrow transfer, because you could actually kind of tell what the hell was going on. It just looked really, really shitty on this version. But There's Always Vanilla, I was taken with it almost immediately, like the first time I saw it, because it really did just feel, for one, it's got a lot of cameos in it. Like you see Russ Striner, you see Jack Russo, and you see a lot of people from Night of the Living Dead in it in a different light. Judith Ridley. Night of the Living Dead's very black and white, very sterile. Like it's very. There's Always Vanilla is like, I think one of the quotes I've heard somebody say once, I can't remember who said it, but it's like the 60s, like late 60s, early 70s threw up all over the film print, and there you have it. There's Always Vanilla. But I always love that. And really it's a love letter to Pittsburgh. So I was always attracted to There's Always Vanilla from the time I saw it. So this was my first time seeing it on this version, and I'd say for years I never watched this Season of the Witch on this. It had some interesting features on it. It does have an interview with Jan White, who plays Joan Mitchell in Jack's wife. I'm sorry, if Vula is watching, I don't want to get in trouble. But it had the interview, and it does have one of my favorite things that this thing has on it. And it's one of the things that one of my early introductions to Romero, and really one of the things that led me to really fall in love with his filmmaking. It does have the episode of The Directors, the films of George A. Romero, which was a series that I think played on Cinemax, Showtime, Stars, one of those movie channels. There was a series called The Directors. And it was an hour-long retrospective of a director's career where they interview the director, they interview a lot of the actors and people that worked with the directors, and just go through chronologically. So that was my introduction to a lot of Romero stuff for the first time. That was the first time I had heard of Night Riders, was watching his episode of The Directors. It was my first time hearing about like Monkey Shines and all those films. So that was kind of like my roadmap to, okay, I need to see this movie next. I need to see this movie next. So it has that on here, which is really, really cool to have on physical media, because I don't think it was released on anything else that I can think of. Maybe it had like a single release somewhere, like a really indie release somewhere. But and it also has the featurette Digging Up the Dead, the Lost Films of George A. Romero, which has the interview with Romero that he did right after coming off of the set of Land of the Dead, where he just looks like he's ready to just crawl in a hole and hide. And, and Felsher's talked about, I brought him in, I'm sitting him down to interview him after this hard fucking shoot of working on Land of the Dead, and asking him to talk about these movies that he doesn't care about and has no interest in talking about. And you can see it. It's an interesting interview with George. You can see him kind of hanging in there, just being like, and at one point in the interview, he's just like, all right, I've kind of said my piece about this. I don't really care. I'm kind of done. He says it nicely, but he gets to a point where he's saying, all right, I've kind of said my piece. I'd like to move on, please. But yeah, I remember getting this for Christmas one year. Instead of a really nice watch, I had my girlfriend at the time. I was just like, well, just take the money you're going to spend on that watch and go to, we had a store here locally called Hastings that had just, tons and tons of DVDs and CDs and VHS tapes. I said, just take that money you're going to spend on that watch and let's just go in there and just let me pick out, $150 worth of fucking DVDs. And she was like, all right, whatever you want. So this was one of them. So yeah. So this one, what year did this come out? I don't remember. This was 2000, does it say on the back here? 2005. So this is, a little later on. And then the purple and yellow Martin release that came out sometime before that on DVD and on VHS. This was one that I got later on. I didn't get this when it first came out, and it took quite a few years before I came across this one again. The original version of Martin that I owned was the Lionsgate version, which was the cool version too. I think the aspect ratio on that is kind of fucked up looking back on it, but yeah, this was 2000 when this was released. It's kind of hard to find. It's out of print now, of course. Kind of hard to find. But yeah, it comes with I think, does this one? Yeah, I think this one has. So there's two different commentaries. I know this one says it has the commentary with George, Amplis, and Savini, and I think the Lionsgate one is the one that has the commentary with George, Savini, Amplis, Gornick. Yeah, I think it has Gornick, Richard Rubenstein, and Donald Rubenstein, which is one of the craziest commentaries, especially looking back on it now, knowing what we know about, Richard and all that. To get all those people together for a commentary for Martin was pretty incredible to listen to. So I'd recommend picking up both, this one and the Lionsgate release as well. And I think there's another version. Yeah, here you go. This one also is pretty cool. This VHS, it opens up, and some of these there are various ones that Anchor Bay put out where it has the little door that opens. Love that look on it too, and the purple. Yeah, I love the purple look of that too. I know Stezio purchased one of the Martin shirts from the shop.alfaromero.store, the Alfa Romero store, whatever you want to call it, and he got it in purple, and I was like, dude, that's fucking brilliant. It just takes me right back to the old Anchor Bay release. It looks so good. So yeah, this was 2000 when this came out. Yeah, and like I said, you can find them on eBay, but they're a little pricey, a little hard to find now. So, where was I? Jeff said my first Dawn of the DVD was from Anchor Bay. It was 95, I believe. Still have it. This one, which this one's still sealed. I haven't even opened it. This is the director's cut. I think the original release of the director's cut, which I've seen this DVD. I used to have two copies. I sold one. I kept the one that was sealed. This is one of the earliest DVD releases, period, I think, because I think you said like 95. I think this was 97 actually. And it's one of the first times that the director's cut or the can cut or whatever you want to call it was available for a lot of fans to see. And I will say this is also one of those flipper discs that you have to like turn over halfway through the movie. But I will say, like, you can tell like this is one of the first DVDs that they put, because it looks pretty fucking shitty now when you try to watch it. But yeah, it gets me nostalgic looking at it, because it's got side one trailers. Yeah, side one widescreen presentation, director's cut matted, part one, and then side two has part two on it. So yeah, 97. This would have been like one of the first like Anchor Bay releases from that time period. I love doing these because these just sit on a shelf for the most part. Like there are like, unless I'm pulling it out to watch it, like I never like, especially like something like this. I just have it on a shelf, just as a collector. So it's always, I always love doing shows like this where I get to pull this stuff down and like look at it and show it off again. It just kind of takes me back. So I remember seeing this in stores back in the day and thinking like, oh my god! And $20 in 1997, that was a lot of money for a movie. Is what how we put it back in the day. So that was a pricey DVD at the time. Suzanne, I wasn't a fan. Are you talking about the Night 30th? Yeah, I think I'm still on that on the comments. I'm gonna try to roll through here, catch up with you guys. Stezio, speaking of the man himself, what's going on, brother? Says I had that 30th edition Night of the Living Dead, watched it once, never again. Total shit show. Good call. Good to see you, man. Susan says I had the Dawn double VHS with the second tape being nothing but trailers until I bought the Ultimate Edition. As you guys are bringing it up, I'm just going to pull these out. Like I said, I'm not going to do it in any kind of particular order. But since we're going down memory lane, and kind of this is very similar. This was released right around the same time. This two tape set of Dawn of the Dead here, looking as epic as it should. Because it's funny, like when I was younger, like the only tapes that you would see that had the double tape were like the epics, Titanic, JFK, shit like that. So the fact that Dawn had one of the big two tape, I think like Salem's Lot, I think was a two tape back in the day. It always just said to me like epic when I saw a VHS tape that was a double tape. But again, just like the Martin release, this one had the little flap that opened up and had the artwork there, and it's very, very cool. And again, Anchor Bay was really ahead of its time. And I'll show this to you guys as well. So that's what the tapes look like. And yeah, like one of the tapes had the movie on it, of course, which is the original director's cut is what they had it as. And then yeah, tape 2 had all the domestic and foreign trailers on it as well. But the copy that I have also, I still have, which is pretty cool, the old official movie merchandise catalog from back in the day, which you look at, if I can get it to focus there, you can see, there you go, a little bit better. The official, I miss this stuff too, like you get the Halloween merchandise there. Down there you got the old Dawn of the Dead merch. That Nosferatu shirt, I would love to find that somewhere. Because I think this is right around the time that Anchor Bay released Werner Herzog's Nosferatu as well. Can't get this thing to focus. But yeah, the old school, the old Andy Warhol Dawn of the Dead shirt, the hat, button. What's that other shirt there? Oh, it's got the, you can kind of see. Let's see if I can move the light. Maybe shine. Yeah, there you go. You can see it a little bit better there if I angle it. But either way. So yeah, I love this. I love that I still have this included with it as well. The old official movie merchandise. Did anybody ever buy any of the stuff from Anchor Bay back in the day through these catalogs? Because you'd have the little order form there. But yeah, did any of you guys ever get anything from Anchor Bay back in the day? The old movie merchandise catalog that came with the tapes. Dan Fair says Mr. Russo is the guy you want in your kitchen if you drop the turkey right before dinner. That guy will find a way to still serve the turkey. That is a perfect way to put that. I'm going to steal that, actually. I'm going to hit the star on that one. I'm going to steal that one. Very well said. Very well said. Wore that set out. Yeah, the Dawn set. Yeah. I'll tell you the one that I wore out, which came out a couple of years later, and kind of hearkening to that Andy Warhol look of the tape. But you have the I don't know what people call this thing. I've always called it just the rainbow version of Dawn of the Dead, but this is the director's cut, the can cut or whatever you want to call it. This was the first version of Dawn of the Dead that I ever bought, as opposed to renting it and recording it off of another VCR or recording it off IFC. $20. I remember Owensboro, Kentucky, at the mall, at the local FYE, picking this up, looking at it, looking at my dad and saying, please, can I buy this? And he said, yes. He bought it for me. I took it home and I literally watched this daily, like on a daily basis. I'm pretty sure. When I look at this tape, because this is the same one. This isn't one that I didn't sell it and then rebuy it later on eBay or anything. This is the one. When I look at this tape, when I think about it, it takes me back to summer vacation, probably 2001, 2002, being at home by myself with my sister, and just watching this on fucking repeat and eating ramen noodles. So when I see this, I can smell the ramen noodles and I can vision fucking just on fucking repeat on the TV. Um, yeah, this was the tape that I fell in love with this movie watching. Had the little insert with the little write up on the back there. It's pretty cool. The night 30th anniversary had one of these as well, where you could pull it out and there's a little write up and stuff on the back too. But I didn't figure that was all that important to pull out and look at. But yeah, this was like the first time that I remember seeing like Dario Argento, the picture of Dario there with George and Gornick and Rubenstein. So yeah, this was the surprise is still in one piece here. If I can slide that back in there. There we go. Yeah, this was the one that I wore the hell out. And then of course they released this on DVD because I guess they'd already done the DVD of the director's cut, so they wanted to do the anniversary edition of the U.S. theatrical cut with the Andy Warhol art here as well. And this one always intrigued me. It took me years to track this one down, before eBay and all that. But this one always intrigued me because with that tape also had the old school Monroeville Mall commercial on it as well. But this one had the commercial on it, and it had some like deleted scenes that were used in the European cut as well, which I had never seen up until that point. So I was always trying to track this down just for that alone. You got the little insert card there. Yeah, I don't know why. Anchor Bay's artwork for Dawn of the Dead was always interesting to me. I don't know why they went with the rainbow, the rainbow look on this thing. I always thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, again, always had great memories of trying to track that down. And I eventually found it at a CD warehouse, and I immediately snatched that son of a bitch up. But yeah, that VHS tape, constant repeat in a Lancaster household growing up. That's for sure. Of the Dead 68. What's going on? Of the Dead 68. True Romero fans all have the 30th anniversary. That is true. That is true. You gotta have it. Just morbid fucking curiosity or sense of humor. I don't know, but I had to have it. I had to have it on VHS and DVD for some reason. And if I ever find the other two versions that are out there, I will buy those as well because it's not one of those things that I'm going to track down on eBay and actually like order. So if I come across it in the wild, yeah, you better believe I'm buying it. So, Steven says, I thankfully only saw the highlights of this. I had the 2 VHS Video Treasure Night Edition, which at the time was good enough for me. Yeah, that was the earlier, which I don't actually have either one of those because there were two different versions. There was a 2-tape and a 1-tape, single tape version of Night of the Living Dead that Anchor Bay did in the mid 90s. And I don't actually own either one of those. So, Granny says, you and Landrum turned me to like vanilla a lot more. All right, job well done. My work here is done, sir. Yeah, vanilla is an acquired taste. That is a quote. And quote me on that. Vanilla is an acquired taste. Yeah, I mean it's really, really low budget. It's got a lot of flaws, that's for sure. But there's an essence and a feel to that movie that I think even George came around on because I remember hearing them talk about George watching that movie before he passed and kind of I think even he kind of came around on it where he was just like, yeah, there was something there. You know, there was something there with that movie. Cheers, Justin. Good to see you, man. I need a cold one. That one's starting to warm up just a tad. So we'll I'm gonna stop doing that because it keeps shooting beer at my computer. I don't need any of that. Drinking some Iron Maiden Lagunitas IPA. Good for you, man. Good for you. I'm not an IPA guy. I can't do it. It tastes like dishwater to me. I don't know. But cheers to you. Cheers to you anyway, my man. Suzanne, I still need to see Season of the Witch and There's Always Vanilla. I would say get the Anchor Bay, but at this point, the Arrow version is the way to go on that. It looks as good as it's ever looked, sounds as good as it's ever. It probably will ever look or sound, honestly. And it's got some great bonus features on there as well. Quite a few of them provided by our boy Larry. So I highly recommend getting that whole set. The Between Night and Dawn set. It's the way to go for Vanilla, Jack's Wife, and the Crazies. That's for sure. I know, Jack's Wife. I know. Luckily, I don't think Vulo's in here tonight. I think he had a date tonight, so I'm not gonna hear it. But I just grew up. It was always Season of the Witch to me. Like growing up, like that. It was always Season of the Witch. So old habits die hard. What can you say? Oh, you had a Hastings too, Matt? Yeah, I spent so much time and money in Hastings in my teen years, early 20s. Broke my heart when I saw that they'd shut down. I guess they had gone out of business all around. I don't think there's one left. But yeah, that was the fucking place to go, to just load up, man. That was take me back to those days. Yeah, the Pissy George interview was interesting. One day, I hope to hear the audio recordings where he rewatched it and was in a better mood. I think we'll hear that someday. I've heard some things about that. I've talked to Felsher about that, and I think he has something planned. I think he does have something in mind that he wants to do with those audio recordings. I can't wait to hear those. I told Felsher, I was like, dude, just whatever, just take a blank check. I just let me hear them once. Like I don't even need to own them. I just let me hear them. You know, it's like the Martin black and white cut. It's like I just want to see it. Like I just want to see it one time, just so I can say I saw it and I can die a happy man. Yeah, we're talking OG Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay kind of fell off the map, and I guess they're still around in some capacity now, but they're not what they used to be. They ended up getting sold to Stars, and once that happened, they kind of got away from some of the classic cult titles and started focusing more on some of the newer releases and some straight to DVD movies, and they kind of lost their way. And then I know that they eventually ended up selling to Lionsgate, and now Lionsgate just owns the catalog, and so a lot of that stuff's at Lionsgate now. But I know there's a new version of Anchor Bay out there, but I don't hear much about them at all anymore these days. So yeah, let the memories be. I don't know. I don't see Anchor Bay making a big comeback anytime soon. We'll just say that. Seems sadly never saw Season of the Witch. Wow, Purple and Gold Martin, aka Martin joins the Lakers. Yeah, and like I said, it goes back to like we're talking about, the rainbow Andy Warhol versions of Dawn of the Dead, the purple and yellow version of Martin. Anchor Bay had some interesting artwork choices, and you wonder now, especially like if Anchor Bay were around today and were releasing these, like, so like, let's say Anchor Bay was a boutique label today, and you heard, oh, Anchor Bay's doing Dawn of the Dead. They're doing, they're doing the director's cut, and this was the artwork that came out. Can you imagine the backlash? Especially from like the blue tubers and the YouTubers and the people that would be just like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is this? The Pride version of fucking Dawn of the Dead? People would be in a fucking uproar. But back then we didn't give a shit. It was just like, oh my God, like Dawn of the Dead's coming out on DVD. We have to have it. We don't care what the hell it looks like. So it's just interesting the way that things have changed over the years, where people put so much more stock, like, other people, which I wasn't a big fan of it either, but there were people that were just like, fuck that Scream Factory Day of the Dead release. That artwork is awful. I will never buy that. And it's like, yeah, it's not my favorite. It's not the best. But I'm kind of more interested in what's inside of it. I don't really give a shit about the box. But for a lot of people now, it's like the people that buy physical media now, it's just about collecting and displaying, which is fine. It's totally understandable. Like I said, physical media now is a total niche thing. And the people that are going to be buying spending $60, $70, $80 on these box sets, are collectors and they want them to look good on the shelf. They want to display them. I get it. But man, back in the day, Anchor Bay, if Anchor Bay, like we heard Anchor Bay was coming out with a Martin release and it was this purple and yellow funky looking thing, man, nowadays people would be in a fucking uproar about it. But it was just a different time. We were just happy to be getting these movies at all. Like we didn't give a shit what the cut. Like I can't remember back in the day, like picking up a Fulci film or an Argento film and saying like, well, this cover looks awful. I will never buy this. I would just say, holy shit, it's fucking, House by the Cemetery. I've never seen this. I want to see it. I'm buying it. Didn't care what the hell it looked like. Even the transfers were pretty awful sometimes on some of those. Didn't care. It was just the opportunity to finally see these movies for the first time. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was a different time back then. That's for sure. Granny says, yeah, I looked for years to get that edition of Martin for a not crazy price. Unfortunately, it was always super expensive, so I sold it for a bootleg. That is my edition of the movie to this day. It works. But now that I know that, I'll keep an eye out because I'm always on eBay browsing for Martin stuff, which, I saw something the other day that really caught my eye that I might make a real strong push for here soon, but I won't say any more so I won't be undercut by anybody. Which I probably said too much there. There's some real sharks that watch this channel. So forget I said anything. There's nothing good. There's nothing good up there. But I'll keep an eye out for you. If I find one for a decent price, I'll definitely let you know. Heck, back finally. Good to hear. Good to hear, Rick. Glad you're back. Twitch of the Death Nerve. What's going on, man? It says Anchor Bay will forever be my favorite label. All the Romero, Fulci, and Argento in one spot. Yeah, I mean, yes, there have been labels that have come along since then and that have done a better job in terms of the transfers and the packaging. And like we were just talking about, the packaging for Anchor Bay, like, maybe not the greatest, but in terms of like being the company that came along at the right time, that really introduced an entirely new generation to these films for the first time, that was me. That was me. I would have never, outside of maybe, finding Suspiria on VHS at the local video store or something like that, I would have never come across, the New York Ripper or something like that until Anchor Bay, and Best Buy. And all of a sudden you're seeing all these titles for sale at your local Walmart. It's just like, yeah, it was a different time. The Fantastic Oracle. What's going on, Fantastic Oracle? What is your favorite Romero Dead movie? It's got to be Dawn of the Dead, man. I'm a Dawn guy. I've always been a Dawn guy. This version of Dawn, I'm just going to start pulling out random versions of this one. I got signed in 2008. George, Scott, Ken, Tom. So this one's kind of special for me. This is because literally we went to the 2008 Texas Frightmare weekend. I literally just brought this with me to watch in the hotel room because I have to have a copy of Dawn of the Dead to watch. This was pre, YouTube, pre-internet. We brought a DVD player and I brought my copy of fucking Dawn of the Dead so I could watch it in the hotel when we got back at the end of the night. And luckily I had it with me and I was like, hey, will you guys sign this? And just have something to sign. So, but yes, I'm a Dawn of the Dead guy, but I love them all. Night of the Living Dead. I love it to death. There's our sweet Dawn of the Dead, new Dawn of the Dead, or Night of the Living Dead poster back there. Day. I'm even one of those weirdos that finds the good in Romero's final 3 films, Land, Diary, Survival. So I'm that guy. So, but good to see you. Glad to have you in here. Welcome to the Monkey Farm. Steven says that was also basic Video Treasure 2 VHS edition cover. Wow, awesome that you have that. Yeah, because Anchor Bay originally, because I think they originally were media home entertainment, and then they eventually became Video Treasures. They went through quite a few changes through the years, but by the time they got to Anchor Bay, that's when they really started focusing on all the the horror and cult films that they would put out over the 10 years or so that they were really cooking there from the late 90s to the early 2000s. Justin says, I accumulated a lot of those old Anchor Bay DVDs back in the day when I worked at a pawn shop. I paid $1 for many of those Romero, Fulci, and Argento classics. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I wish I would have snatched up more of those, but here recently, Anchor Bay stuff is like going through the fucking roof. Like you find some of those Anchor Bay titles on eBay now for pretty good fucking money. Anchor Bay is kind of a hot nostalgic thing now. So yeah, I wish I would have grabbed some of those while, when Blu-ray first started kicking in and DVD was kind of going out the window and people were just kind of getting rid of a lot of their DVDs and stuff now. But seems like there's that weird cycle where all of a sudden DVDs are coming back into fashion again. So yeah, I always had that. Even VHS tapes. There's like so many VHS tapes that I just kind of threw out back in the day. I was just like, hey, take these. I don't need them anymore. There's DVDs now that I wish I had back. Twitch of the Death Hunter got the Halloween shirt from the Anchor Bay DVD. Very cool. Very cool. I see some of those pop up every now and then. But again, it's like I like some of those Dawn shirts that Anchor Bay were offering. You'll see those pop up on eBay every now and then, but now they're $100 or something like that. And it's just like, again, something that you could have got back in the day for, whatever they were, $15 or something like that, probably. Matt says, I bought the Dawn shirt with the logo on the breast, Paul Musser head on the back. There you go. Very cool. I'm trying to remember what my first Dawn of the Dead shirt was now. It's funny. That's one of those things that I feel like I would remember, but I have no recollection of what my first piece of Dawn of the Dead clothing was. I probably wore it the hell out, though. I can say that. What flavor of ramen noodles? So I do ramen noodles. I always love you ask these interesting questions. Just you throw me off and you get me down these weird tracks. But I always did my ramen noodles really, really fucking hardcore to the point where they probably raised my blood pressure and almost killed me at a point when I was a teenager. But I would take beef ramen noodles and I would add Worcestershire sauce, seasoning salt, soy sauce, and I think that's it. And I would just mix it all together in like just this one extremely powerful fucking soup of ramen noodles. And other people would try it and they would just start coughing and choking on it. But to me, like I felt like I was a fucking chef concocting some amazing Asian dish here. But yeah, that was pretty much my go-to ramen noodle recipe there with the beef seasoning, Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce, seasoning salt. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting anything. I think that's pretty much it. I haven't eaten that shit in many, many years, needless to say. But yeah, it was pretty fucking strong. It was as close as I could get at the time to, fucking whiskey or whatever. Shrimp Lemon, that was good. That was good too. We were poor white trash, man. I was a ramen noodles connoisseur back in the day. Steven says they did several versions of the rainbow style. There was a black one that I always dug, but sadly never picked it up. Yeah, I don't know why they went with the rainbow style. But again, kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum, which we'll talk about this one now. This is the big one. This is the one everybody loves to talk about. And still to this day, may be the definitive version of Dawn of the Dead to own. It's the one that I have I wore out. Literally, I mean, you can see this is the box. I mean, it's wore the fuck out. The Dawn of the Dead Ultimate Edition 4-disc box set from 2004. I think this came out September of 2004. Again, maybe still to this day the definitive version of Dawn of the Dead, and they still look good. The transfers still look good, even on modern televisions. Still, maybe the version, it competes with the Second Sight 4K. But in the US, there's no doubt about it. This is the version of Dawn of the Dead to own. And you look at it, it's a simple, I call it the none more black version of Dawn of the Dead because it's just black, simple, the shiny red letters, Ultimate Edition. It looks like it looks important. It looks fucking important. I was talking about, the two tapes. If something had two tapes, It felt like an epic. This looks epic. This looks like, the Holy Grail. And for me at the time, it was. Not only did you have the US version on DVD, you had the can cut on DVD. The first time in the US that I know of, that the first time that I saw it, the European cut on DVD, the Argento cut, you had the brand new documentary, The Dead Walk, which is still one of the best Romero documentaries out there. The best Romero documentary ever made, Document of the Dead, had that on there. A mall tour with Ken Foray, Greg Nicotero was on that tour. It had everything. And for a kid that grew up kind of alone in his Dawn of the Dead fandom, didn't really have a lot of friends that really dug this shit as much as I did, to see something like this come out that you could point to, and you got to say, like, no matter what your feelings are towards the Dawn remake or how you feel about the Dawn remake, we would have never have gotten this if it hadn't been for the Dawn of the Dead remake. Because if Richard Rubenstein wasn't in the mode to sell the Dawn remake and use the Dawn of the Dead name to get it back out there, we wouldn't have gotten this. So no matter how you feel about the Dawn remake, luckily, because of it, we got the Ultimate Edition of Dawn of the Dead. And going back to what I was saying about, cover art and stuff like that, that a lot of people really focus on these days and really judge releases on. If this came out now, how would you guys feel? I'm genuinely curious how you guys, if you saw that Second Sight or Synapse or somebody like that, let's say the US Synapse was going to do a Dawn of the Dead box set release, and this is the cover art for it, does this still hold up to this day? Because I think it does. I think simple, classic, I'm still thinking of fucking Spinal Tap when you get the None More Black. It's like a mirror, you can kind of see yourself in it, but you got that on the cover, you got the back here with the main four right there. Now this box set's barely holding together, but just the way that it's presented, you got the different looks on the discs are falling out. Telling you, wore this fucking version out. You got the documentaries, you got the European cut on here. I still to this day, this is the version of Dawn of the Dead in the US. It came with the sample comic book when they were doing the Dawn of the Dead comic book series. I think there were like 3 or 4 of those. So it came with like the like a sample version of like the first part of the comic book, which I thought was just, it blew me away when I was younger when I first saw this. Let me see here. Yeah, I mean, it was everything that as a Dawn of the Dead fan you wanted when this came out. A map. It shows, the map layout, which I think was submitted. This is Norman England's work here with the map of the mall. Both levels. Yeah, just a minute. And that's not even touching on the audio commentaries that were included on this. Not only did you get a new commentary with George, Christine, and Tom, but on the can cut, you get a commentary with Richard Rubenstein. So it's kind of interesting to hear Richard Rubenstein by himself talking about Dawn of the Dead. That was the first time that I'd ever really heard that. And then, of course, I think maybe the most popular commentary of any Romero film is the commentary that's on the European cut of the main 4 cast. You had Galen, Scott, Ken, and David all together for the first time probably since the movie came out, talking about the movie. Maybe outside of like some like panels and stuff at some conventions over the years, but to have them actually sit down, watch the film, and it's just like you're watching the movie with the characters, because they're all interplaying together. They're all, you can still see that there's a relationship there. There's still a chemistry between these 4 people still. And it's so fun to listen to. It's so fun to hear Galen and Ken, bust David's balls about, what'd you do that for, David? He's like, yeah, it's just part of the character. I'm trying to build suspense. Somebody has to. it's an amazing commentary that they brought together for this. I hope they do something. I've said this before. I hope they do something similar with the Second Sight Day of the Dead. In theory, the Second Sight Day of the Dead that's coming, possibly coming out. Do something similar with the cast from Day. You know, get Lori, get Jarlath, get Terry, John, get them together for a commentary in a similar way. But yeah, this was still is, over 20 years later, the definitive version of Dawn of the Dead, available in the US, and it still holds up. It still looks good. The features are still amazing. And yeah, I'll never forget going to Walmart. Ironically enough, going to Walmart and seeing it. It was one of those. It was, of course, wrapped, and it had one of those little tags on it where you couldn't steal it, and it was in a glass case, and it just felt like I felt like Indiana Jones, and I'm finding, you know, the Ark of the Covenant or something. I'm just like, there it is, and I had to have it. And I took it home. The first thing I watched when I got it home, though, was the Argento cut, because I'd never seen it. And still to this day, any chance I get to watch Dawn of the Dead and see something new, watch it in a different way, I'm always right there for it. So, but yeah, Ultimate Edition, still the way to go in the US. And they did I'll go ahead and shout these out too. They did the Blu-ray release. This one's signed by Tom. The Blu-ray release a couple of years later, 2007, when this came out. And this was the last release of Dawn of the Dead in the US, almost 20 years ago now. And it's just the US cut. It's got the commentary with George, Christine, and Tom. But yeah, like I said, this is the last version of Dawn of the Dead released in the US, was this Blu-ray. And they did the DVD release. A couple of them of the US cut. This is the one. It's like this is like I guess a limited version of this release, because it's got the shiny lettering, the gold lettering on it, as compared to this one. As you can see under Ken's name there, it's just got the yellow. So this one's both special DiviMax editions. Then they got the DiviMax edition of the Argento cut, which they released solo a year or so after the Ultimate box set came out, which has it's basically the exact same disc that's in the box set as well. I always love that artwork. It's so weird and so European in a way. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead was like, Anchor Bay was the home of Dawn of the Dead for many, many years. And still is to this day in the US. Like I said, it was the last company to get it and do a release in the US. I don't know. Richard was willing to do business back then, and he's just not now. So I don't know. All right, what are you guys saying? We got through the Dawn of the Dead stuff there. I saw Fabian. What's going on, man? Fabian Esparza. Alpha, if a label offered you to do a commentary on Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, or Survival, which one would you choose to do? If I were to do a commentary on... That's interesting. That is a really good question, actually. I feel like Land of the Dead has kind of been done. I wouldn't mind doing a fan commentary. I wouldn't mind doing a fan commentary for Survival, actually, out of those three. Survival's one that my brain is trying to turn a little bit, my opinions on that. And it's also George's last film, like it has a little extra weight to it because it's George's final film. So outside of those, I'd be down to do a Survival. I'd like to do a Diary commentary too, but at the same time, Survival would be an interesting one, I think. I have done a Survival of the Dead watch along a couple of years ago. And I remember not liking it very much when I watched it. It was not an enjoyable experience, but again, maybe it's one of those movies that's just going to take a while to grow. I don't know. Hey, yeah, some more Hastings love. I'm here for that. Fat Pig, the Conqueror. What's going on? Mr. Conqueror. See, I'm not going to call you Fat Pig tonight. Didn't even know the rainbow was the gay pride signal until like 2008. Yeah, I don't know when that started, but that if like I said, if that came out today, that's what people would be saying. So but back then it was just like it just felt special. It felt unique. I don't know. Fabian says Anchor Bay is a treasure in my house. Their release of the Sleepaway Camp films, Bad Taste, Maniac. Maniac was a good Anchor Bay release. John Woo's Better Tomorrow 1 and 2, and the classic Day of the Dead Contagion. I wasn't gonna bring it up. I wasn't gonna bring that one up tonight, but since we did, no. We'll just leave it at that. It's an Anchor Bay introduced me to A Blade in the Dark and quite a few others that I had no idea existed. There were so many of those over the years, the Anchor Bay titles, like especially like a lot of the European, Italian titles that never would have known existed if it hadn't been for Anchor Bay. People reacting to my my ramen noodle recipe. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go, Justin. There's a good comment. Everybody make sure like and subscribe. Definitely. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for doing that, Justin. Appreciate it. Bunny says that's the one I have, my treasured item. Behind on it. I'm guessing it's the Ultimate Edition. We'll just go with that. It is. Like I said, I've had it for all these years. I'll never get rid of it, never sell it. I've spent many nights. I've often talked about, and I joke about with my parents all the time, because on that the documentaries disc, I used to watch those documentaries on fucking repeat. Document of the Dead, The Dead Walk. Used to watch them on repeat, going to bed at night when I was younger. And of course, you're watching it. I fall asleep, and then it goes to the main menu, and the menu is just the boom, 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 beep, 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 beep. And it would just be blaring out of my bedroom, and my parents would wake up in the morning to go to work, and that music is just on fucking repeat, and they can just hear it, and they still give me shit about that to this day. It's like that fucking music, man. We'd wake up every morning to go to work, and we'd just be listening to that music nonstop. But they were cool about it. Mike 13V2, what's going on? Mike says I still have one of those still in plastic, unopened. Be worth a little bit of money, man. Be worth a little bit of money if you still have the Ultimate Edition still sealed. I wonder what that would go for now. Very cool. Good to see you, man. Ed saying my Dawn Ultimate, I cut the plastic just enough to pull the DVDs out, so the shrink wrap is still in the smart move. But man, back in the day, when I got that thing home, I ripped that fucking thing apart. Even the piece of paper on the back that's glued to the back that has all the contents, I threw that shit right out. I was like, I'm not gonna need this shit, because I wasn't a collector at the time. I just needed to get my hands on this. To me, it was information. It was like I gotta see this stuff. I gotta immerse myself in this. The European cut or these documentaries, and yeah. And I was already an Anchor Bay fan, so I knew what their documentaries were like to begin with. Like I was already obsessed with the Day of the Dead documentary that they did on this. So we talked about it last week, but the 2-disc DiviMax Day of the Dead, they had the documentary on there, the featurette with it was like a 30-minute doc. I already knew what Anchor Bay could do, and I was just waiting. Like, all right, we got the Day of the Dead release. All right, we need a Dawn release. We need Dawn documentaries. We need commentaries. Yeah. And so like I was just like tore that shit to pieces and was just like, all right, got to get this in the player as quickly as possible. But hey, smart thinking. You're a smarter man than I was when I was 13, 14, whatever that was. Steven says the best Dawn release of all time. Not only are the movies awesome, it comes with a mini comic book. The extras alone stand out in this box set. And finally, it does have little Easter eggs in it too. Every disc has at least one little Easter egg if you can find it. Little snippets of interviews, which is something somebody mentioned last week. I think it was Will, that he misses having the little Easter eggs in releases, in like the menus and stuff like that. I don't think they do much of that anymore. Sean, what's going on, man? Says, yes, it does. Simple, clean, timeless. Absolutely. I think that's the best way to put it, is simple, clean, timeless. It'll never age. I think it's beautiful. Yeah, I think everybody's on the same page. If that was, and especially after you see like the cover that they do that, Scream Factory did for Day of the Dead, and you're kind of wishing like I wish they would have gone the Anchor Bay Ultimate Edition route and just given us something simple, man. Just something simple. That's all we want. Or just give us the poster art, fuck it. William, what's going on, man? Yeah, I got the Ultimate, bought it at FYE special order when it came out. Hell yeah. I miss FYE. I miss those little stores. I know they wouldn't survive these ads. I know there's still a few around my area. I think there's the last one that I knew of was in like Paducah, I think. I don't know if it's still there or not, but yeah, and in this day and age when you can just go on Amazon and get whatever you want for like, less than you could get it in the store. I just miss, and again, it's just the nostalgia of being young, I guess. I just miss going into a store and having $20 and saying, okay, what can I get? What looks cool? What is it going to be a CD? Is it going to be a DVD? I miss those days. I do. But again, it's just the nostalgia of being young and, experiencing this stuff for the first time, being introduced to these movies and this music for the first time. I miss the weird guy that used to work at the sound shop, the record store that would when you were a kid, that would hip you to all the cool music you need to listen to. It's like, oh, you like Skid Row, huh? Check out this band, and you're like, okay. And as a young kid, you're like, oh, I guess this band's awesome. And you kind of get hip with it, I guess. I miss those guys. You don't get that on Amazon or shit like that. Played Out says, I'm a Dawn 90 apologist. I like it. Are you talking about Dawn the remake or Night 90? You got two mixed up there. I do like Night 90. I don't love it. I don't think it's great. I do like it though. I have a special place for it. The Dawn remake, I got outside of it, opening the door for Rubenstein to license out Dawn of the Dead in the early 90s. I got no use for it. Sorry. Just don't. Your only edit would be to take off the Ultimate Edition text. I could see that. It doesn't, it doesn't bother me or anything, but yeah, I could see it. Make it even more classic, simple, timeless, as you said. Justin said, I bought that at Best Buy. So many memories. Yeah, Best Buy was the fucking shit. They don't even sell physical media anymore. It's kind of a bummer, but yeah, Best Buy was the fucking place to go back in the day. It says, for people that know Dawn, the artwork is still the bomb. Fans just walking by a DVD shelf, 50-50. Yeah, for sure. But I feel like Dawn has always kind of had that reputation where it's like, if you're, especially like when I was younger, when I was a kid going into a video rental store and you're looking in the horror section and you're seeing all these like gruesome and over the top covers, especially for a lot of like the slasher films. Like a lot of the slasher films from the early to mid 80s, the VHS covers were way, way cooler than the actual movies themselves. They sold you on that shit, like stuff like, Slaughterhouse, and the covers were always super cool. Return of the Living Dead had a great cover. Dawn of the Dead, I always felt like, I don't know. If I didn't know Dawn of the Dead, if I wasn't looking for it, if I didn't know what it was, I probably wouldn't pick it up and be like, oh, this looks great. What is this? Why is this old man rising? I don't get it. I always felt like Dawn of the Dead has always kind of struggled in the, in the VHS cover, DVD cover for like unknowing patrons, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But in comparison, you see like this Day of the Dead release, and you're like, oh, that looks pretty fucking interesting. This is the first cover. It was which it's not Anchor Bay. Well, I guess it kind of is. It's what Anchor Bay used to be, I guess. But the old school media VHS. I remember seeing this in a video store when I was like 3 years old, and it gave me fucking nightmares. I had no idea what that guy was. What is going on here? Who are all these people in the background? What are all these monsters doing? This was the first VHS cover that I remember seeing, because I used to like when you're real little, you go to the kids section and you avoid the horror section. But for some reason, I wandered into the horror section and I saw this and scared the ever loving shit out of me. Gave me nightmares. So yeah, Day of the Dead like had the opposite effect on me when I was younger. Immediately scared the fucking shit out of me. Steven says that cast commentary on Dawn is even more special considering the passing of David. Sadly, we'll never have that again. Yeah, yeah. I hate. I never got a chance to meet David. I always regret that. Um, hmm. Of the Dead says, "Oh my God, love the Ultimate Edition DVD, best US release still today." I agree. Brad, what's going on, man? 1911 Guitar Dude says, "I agree. The black 2004 box made it look important. If Scream Factory had done a simple cover for the latest 4K of Day of the Dead, it would have been a much better choice." But again, it's like, we also, like I said, we live in a time where, you know, collectors and blue tubers and real physical media nuts, they get so wrapped up in, you know, the slip cases and the slip covers and, the artwork, that it's like, if you, I wonder if you did something super, super simple like that now, would it fly? I mean, I think for us, like for something like Dawn of the Dead, hell yeah, it would fly. But if it's kind of like what was said a minute ago. It's like, if it was just a casual fan that came across, they were just like, God, they put fucking 10 cents into this. Like they didn't even try. It's just a blank fucking look. It's Spinal Tap, none more black, So yeah, I don't know. For me, I think it would be much better than what they did. But again, just give me the old school VHS artwork, and I'm happy. Deontay Wilder till this day. Okay. It says, "Has anyone ever reached out to Perry Martin, who did the Dawn documentary and produced the Dawn set?" I've never. I haven't. I don't know if anybody else has. I think he's still working in the business. I think he still does some stuff. But yeah, that's just kind of a name I haven't heard in quite a while, actually. So I don't know what he's up to. Just Happy Burger, what's going on, man? Love Land of the Dead. Hell yeah. Okay, I'm here for some Land of the Dead love for sure. Definitely. Sean says, "I own the Japanese Blu-ray set of Dawn with the silver box." I don't have that one. I actually like Japanese stuff. I don't have a lot of Japanese stuff, like the laser discs, or that's the one I would like of all the Japanese stuff. The ultimate, or not the ultimate, but the perfect, the silver box laser disc set. That would be the one I would want. But it's pretty fucking pricey. Pretty pricey. It says I'd be doing a survival and or diary commentary. It'd be interesting. I'm curious to see what happens with those films in the next few years, because we're coming up on the anniversaries of both of them. I mean, it's going to be what next year is going to be the 20th anniversary of Survival or Diary of the Dead. That's crazy to fucking think about. So yeah, I wonder where those are going to, if those are going to get any kind of releases or anything coming up, and who's going to do them, and back to them. Have they grown on people at all? We'll see. I know they just did the steelbook for Diary, but it's basically just a steelbook and just the version, the Blu-ray version that came out, all those years ago. Nothing new to it, but we'll see. Robert says, "I've always liked Survival of the Dead." It was weird. See, Survival's weird for me because when I first saw it, I liked it. Like I was like, "Oh, I really dig this." And the more I watched it, I had more issues with it. And now that when I think about it, it's like there's a lot about Survival that I do like. Some of the ideas, some of the shots. I really like Kenneth Welsh. I think some of the performances in it are pretty good. But man, there's still just there's quite a bit that I just don't care for, that I just kind of cringe, especially some of the CGI and some of the acting, some of the dialogue, some of the casting. I just never was a fan of. But again, maybe over time it'll grow on me, kind of like Day did. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but speaking of Day, we touched on it last week. We really kind of talked about Day of the Dead last week. Already talked about this DiviMax 2 disc. Like, this was the version that I fell in love with Day of the Dead. It wasn't the first version of Day of the Dead that I owned. The first version of Day of the Dead that I owned was this original Anchor Bay VHS release from 1997. This was the first one that I owned, and it's not the best transfer. So again, it was like kind of hard to watch because it's really, really dark in spots. But I remember finding this for really cheap at like probably a flea market or something. And again, I wasn't the biggest Day of the Dead fan at the time. But this was really my introduction to Day of the Dead, was this Anchor Bay VHS from 97. And this was, I probably got this probably right around 2000, 2001. But I didn't really fall in love with the movie like I did until I finally got this 2-disc version. Which, like I said, had the documentary, The Many Days of Day of the Dead, which, Felcher's gone on and done an even more comprehensive documentary, which he kind of hits on all the points that this one doesn't. This is only like a 40-minute documentary on this, but it's pretty interesting that they actually interview people like David Ball on the documentary, so you get to hear David Ball kind of talk about Day of the Dead. But it also had the behind the scenes 31 minutes of production footage, an audio interview with the actor Richard Liberty, which I often forget about, is on here. It's kind of interesting. And of course the commentary with George and Laurie and Tom and Cletus Anderson. It's one of the only times you really get to hear Cletus Anderson talk about Day of the Dead. So yeah, this was the one that I wore out. I watched over and over and over again. Before that, though, there was a DVD release. It was a really bare bones standard edition DVD that Anchor Bay put out of Day of the Dead, which was kind of just the DVD version of this. Which I never liked this artwork. I never even like the main one sheet, the main artwork for Day of the Dead. I was never a fan of, because this just looks like a weird mummy movie to me or something. Like, it looks like they're in the desert, and it looks like a mummy movie. So this is basically a DVD release right around the same time. This is 98, Anchor Bay. Pretty bare bones. It's got some behind the scenes footage on it, but no commentary, nothing else. And I never really liked this cover art either. It looks very generic, fucking Photoshop. It looks almost on par with the Day of the Dead 2 Contagion artwork that Anchor Bay put out. It looks pretty on par with this. Looks really kind of put together. And it's just kind of got the blank. I guess this was a flipper disc too. Yeah, it's got side 1, side 2. I guess it's probably, my guess would be, because I don't think you have to flip it halfway through, which tells you I don't remember the last time I watched this, if I ever have. I don't know. Anybody own this version? Do you have to flip it halfway through the film, kind of the way you do with Dawn of the Dead? Or is this just one of those where you could flip it, full screen or widescreen, which was a thing back in the day? But then you also had the just the single disc release of the DiviMax Day of the Dead that didn't come with the the documentaries or anything on it, but it does have the commentary, and also has the commentary with Roger Avery, which I didn't mention on that as well. But another great commentary, a good fan commentary. Roger Avery, of course, wrote Pulp Fiction, director of Killing Zoe, done a bunch of stuff over the years. Huge Romero fan, huge Day fan. Loved hearing that commentary when I was younger. So yeah, I also did the single release version of this, and and this is the Blu-ray release, which this came out the exact same day that the Dawn of the Dead Blu-ray came out in 2007. So this is basically just a port over from the DVD to Blu-ray that came out at the exact same time. Even the art on the disc is the same. So yeah. Anchor Bay definitely did some Day of the Dead releases as well. But I would say the definitive Day of the Dead release, probably, it really goes back and forth for me. Because I know the audio is fucked up on this version. And we talked about this. I know the audio is fucked up. But this is the one, like I said, I fell in love with. And still outside of that, still maybe to this day my favorite release of Day of the Dead, even maybe a little bit more so than the Scream Factory Blu-ray. And I think a lot of it's just nostalgia for me. Um, just because I literally went through every aspect of this thing with a fine tooth comb. And this is back in the day too. I didn't even mention this, but you guys remember back when you could put the DVD ROM in your computer and it would have like some extra stuff on there as well, including like, scripts and photos and stuff like that. Um, yeah, the good old days. But yeah, still to this day, maybe still my favorite release of this in the US. Um, for now, which and we didn't mention this one either, but I do want to give this one a quick shout out too. My introduction to Knight Riders was on this Anchor Bay Knight Riders release from 2000, and this is a cool version because it's got like the gold box, which I think is kind of rare. Because I know they release this as well, but it's got a regular box. But if you have the gold one, it's a little bit more limited, I think. But that was my introduction to Knight Riders. I found this at an FYE in Bowling Green. Quickly snatched it up. And this was the version that I took home, put in, watched it all the way through, and then immediately watched it again after it was over. So again, nostalgia and reminisce about first time seeing Knight Riders. It was on this version, this DVD with the gold box. So, and what other company, especially at that time, was putting out Knight Riders on DVD? Like, thank God for Anchor Bay. I think that, yeah, they fell by the wayside over the years, and eventually we started getting like Arrow Video and Scream Factory and Synapse and Severn, which Synapse was around during the time that Anchor Bay was, because during that time period, really the big ones were Synapse, Anchor Bay, Blue Underground. Like those were the ones that when you saw that logo on the box, you knew, okay, this movie's probably going to be at least interesting. It's at least going to be worth buying. But over time they kind of changed ownership and changed directions, and Anchor Bay just wasn't what it used to be. But I still have a shit ton of my Anchor Bay DVDs over there in my collection. I always say like I should just sell those because I got them all on Blu-ray and 4K now, and they look better and all this. But there's still something nostalgic about the old Anchor Bay stuff, because that was my introduction. That was my door into this world, were those old Anchor Bay releases. So here's to you, Anchor Bay. Thank you for all you did over the years. We miss you, and we'll never forget you. We'll never forget you. Yeah, Justin saying my favorite regular release of Day of the Dead with the flap, the Divi Max. Yeah, and like I said, it's still, even with that fucked up audio, at the time I didn't care, but I think I care more now because it's been 20 fucking years, and you would think that they would kind of figure those kinks out. But boy, were we wrong. William says, I love falling asleep to the main menu with the zombie shadows and music. Yes, sir. It's almost a nightly thing for me. Just ask my poor parents about that. Sean says, I could see a company like Ignite Films randomly getting the license to release Dawn in 4K here in the States. I will say I have heard that Synapse was really, really close to getting the rights to do a restoration and a release of Dawn of the Dead in the US a few years ago. But of course, as it always tends to go, Richard Rubenstein was a little bit of a pain in the ass to deal with, and those plans just kind of ended up getting scrapped. So there's no news of any kind of release of Dawn of the Dead in the US coming anytime soon on 4K. Luckily, we have Second Sight, and we have that beautiful, beautiful box set that Second Sight did a couple of years ago. But in terms of the US, there's no news. There's no imminent news for a Dawn release in the near future. So we'll see what happens with that. I think the case with that, as with a lot of things that have to do with Dawn of the Dead and Martin, I think people are just kind of biding their time and just kind of waiting out Richard. Because from what I've heard, Richard's kind of an older guy. He's up there in age, and from what I've heard, he's not doing the best health wise. And it's it's horrible to say, and I have nothing but gratitude and and all that for Richard, man. Like George would have never achieved what he achieved without Richard Rubenstein. I can say that pretty confidently. As great of an artist and filmmaker as George was, if he didn't have somebody like Richard Rubenstein back then to kind of guide him and put him in put him in the best situation possible and take care of the business aspect of it and be the spike to George's feather, I don't think we would have ever gotten a Dawn of the Dead or a Day of the Dead or a Night Riders or a Martin even. George did his best work during those years that he worked with Richard, so that counts for something. But I think in terms of now, in terms of anything happening in the near future with any of those titles, again, I think it's just a matter of just waiting out Richard and waiting out and seeing what happens with the rights after that. So we'll see. But that's a whole discussion that we could have. Steven says, if I could make an argument that the day edition with the flap is the equivalent of the Dawn edition. The only negative is the audio issue, but I still believe it's an awesome release. I agree with that. Fat Pig the Conqueror says, I haven't been to Best Buy since they stopped selling Blu-rays. I have actually, but it's just to buy like equipment for this. Like if I need to buy a light or something like that, or I'll typically go to Best Buy. But yeah, I used to frequent Best Buy fairly frequently when they had, because they would have some pretty good sales sometimes on some 4Ks and Blu-rays. But yeah, the one here in Evansville, they don't sell any of that anymore. It's kind of sad to see. Steven says, buddy has the poster on his wall, Alpha U test tube baby. Yeah, well. I've been called worse. Jeff says, the fact that you met David's family at his funeral and the words that you said to them really is something very special to both. Yeah, I'm really glad I got to do that at least. Met his family, but that was something. But I would have loved to have met David. Not for an autograph or anything like that, but just I just really enjoy meeting these people and just trying. The challenge to me is to try to convey to them how much we appreciate them, because a lot of these people, it's like that was their one big thing. That was their one thing. Like David, Dawn of the Dead was his one big thing. Like he was in a few things here and there over the years, but for the most part, as an actor, like Dawn of the Dead was his big thing. And if I could say, dude, just that one thing, like, you should be really, really proud of that. I hope he knew that. I think he felt that. I think he felt the love from the fans. Just talking to his family, talking to his sister, and especially seeing the way that the funeral was kind of laid out. Like it was kind of a memorial for David as Stephen. Like they had his jacket, because he still had the screen-worn jacket that he kept all those years, had his jacket on display, had a photo collage of, him behind the scenes and on the set and stuff like that. And it was just kind of like, yeah, I think even they knew that it really meant something to David, that he was a part of that. And they were more than happy. I think that's why they were so excited that we were there. They were just like, oh, it's David's fans. Come on over, come sit with us. Like it was really, really fucking cool. I hope we get a 4K of Diary of the Dead from Lionsgate Limited for the anniversary. That would be interesting. I would wonder what a 4K of Diary would look like, because it is shot with that, first person. It's not, it's supposed to be, I guess, some part, not camcorder footage, but I mean, a lot of it's shot from different perspectives of like security cameras and stuff like that. So I wonder how that would look or how that would work out. I would just love to see like a retrospective documentary on some of those films and to catch up with some of those actors and the people. There are so many people that worked with George during that time period that worked on all of those films. They were kind of the Canadian version of the Pittsburgh crew that George had back in the day. So I'd love to hear some of their recollections and stories. I'd love to hear more from Peter Grunwald, who was George's producer from, Bruiser all the way through the rest of his career, even going back all the way to Monkey Shines. So I'd love to hear more from people like that too, just in terms of bonus features. Jeff says, I have that Japanese silver Laserdisc box set. Cost me $300 when it came out. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I would love to get my hands on one of those. But But yeah, 300 bones is especially for somebody who doesn't have a particular affinity for Laserdisc or even own a Laserdisc player. Um, it's a little, it's a little pricey, Do I have any creep show posters? I don't actually. Well, let me think. I don't think so. I don't think I do. Not for any particular reason, but I yeah, I don't think I do. I have a shitload of posters that are just kind of, stacked up, piled. I could be wrong about that actually. I'm trying to think because I feel like I remember buying like one of those Scream Factory exclusive creep show posters when they put out that Blu-ray, but I can't remember. That's really fucking bad when I can't even remember what the hell I have at this point. Jeez. But off the top of my head, no, I don't. I think instead of posters, I have a blanket over here. I have a creep show pillow. I have all the creep show action figures over there. I make up for it with other creep show shit. So, Day of the Dead, yeah, love Day of the Dead too. Had that VHS also. Yeah, that was my introduction. My first Day of the Dead purchase. Yeah, the day artwork, like the poster artwork, never been a fan of it. It just, like I said, just looks like a weird mummy movie to me. And no, Jeff, it doesn't. No, we need to forget that it's funny to me that Anchor Bay was the company that put that out, but I think I remember hearing Felsher talk about that. And from his recollection, the fact that Anchor Bay put out Day of the Dead 2 Contagion, I think that was part of the deal that they had to make with Taurus Entertainment, the Doodlesons, whoever, to be able to release the Day of the Dead 2-disc set. They had to also release the shitty sequel that they financed. So, you kind of have to do what you kind of have to do in that situation, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm good on that. There you go. There's a Day of the Dead is your favorite. Have all the DVD and Blu-ray versions. Hell yeah. See, we were talking about that earlier, like the variance between Dawn fans, Day fans. It can really goes back and forth, and it's more so over the years. I'll say that. Okay. Ed, I'm not going to read that. It's too damn late. William says, what version of Day has the best audio and picture? I would say the best audio and picture is probably the Scream Factory Blu-ray from 2013, because that has the correct audio, and I think picture quality-wise, it looks as good, at least as good as the 4K, in my opinion. The 4K that just came out. Like, I wasn't... And I'm not just picking on Scream Factory for the 4K, but like I just wasn't blown away by the picture quality of that or the audio, obviously. Like I said, if you don't have the 4K and you're looking to upgrade from the DVD, the Blu-ray is more than enough. Is more than fine. So I would go with the Blu-ray from 2013 if it were me. Yeah, there you go. Justin's got you. Have the Anchor Bay, which I would say the Scream Factory Blue is definitely a good upgrade. Yeah. Thanks for all the memories, Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay, we hardly knew you. No, I'm very familiar with Anchor Bay. Like I said, it was the first label that I knew by name at that age. That I knew when I saw that fucking sailboat pop up. All right, quality at hand here. We're gonna get some quality. Down is up. Have you seen or do you have the trilogy box set of the first 3 films? The Trilogy of the Dead box set, I think it was released in just Europe. Yeah, it was a UK release. It's a box set, Trilogy of the Dead. They could only do it in Europe. It has a night, dawn, day. They could only do it in Europe because of the rights over there are different than they are over here. They could never do that over in the US. People have asked about that before, why they never did a trilogy where they did night, dawn, day all in one box set. Could never do that over here in the US because all 3 of those titles are owned by different people. And Richard Rubenstein was just not going to have any of that nonsense on his watch. So, but no, I never picked that up. I never got that one. I see it quite often on eBay though for a fairly decent price. But yeah, just never picked it up. It's saying hell, this has me reminiscing about my Anchor Bay DVDs and tapes. Gonna have to go back, go and look through them again. Dude, I pull them out sometimes, man. Sometimes, even if I have them on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever, sometimes I'll pull out the old Anchor Bay DVD and pop it in, just for old time's sake. And those old menus and the old music, like, just takes you back, man. Just takes you back. Steven says, for those of you who have never had the opportunity to, Best Buy back in the day was so amazing. There were DVDs, CDs, and video games as far as the eye could see. Really, like literal rows. Like the horror section alone would be like just an entire row that you just. It was, yeah. Where like here recently, before they stopped selling them in general, it was basically like a rack, maybe like partial of like part of a rack may have, maybe 20 or 30 titles on it, and that was about it. Back in the day, it was just like anything you could think of, fucking Best Buy had. How the mighty have fallen. Yeah. Yeah. Brings back memories, which I think you can find that old logo just on YouTube. If you want to go back and relive the memories. I did, yeah. The Larry's unboxing of the Day of the Dead action figures that he got. I did. You can check those out. Larry's channel, WGON TV, did an unboxing for the day figures, the Trick or Treat Day figures. Which Larry hit me. He said he's picked up something pretty fucking cool. Wouldn't tell me what it was, but he messaged me the other day. Was it yesterday? And he messaged me. He was like, "Dude, I got something really fucking cool. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but just stay tuned." I was like, "All right, damn it." So I hope he does a video on that, whatever it is. I'm curious to see what he got, because when it comes to Larry, you never fucking know. He may have. You never know what the dude's got. Status in back in the 80s for me, it was Tower Video next to the record store. I could spend hours there. Really miss that. Could talk any movie with staff because they were hired for their knowledge. Yeah. I miss the nerds, man. I miss, especially when I was 13, 14 years old, going into a record store and discovering new music and getting recommendations from the guy at the counter. It's like, hey, if you like that, check this out. Yeah, I miss those days. Brian Ridgway, what's going on, man? Greetings all the way from Michigan. What's going on, man? Anyone have any history on that awful sand mummy character that was used on the day promo material? Can't imagine George would approve of that horrendous art. The what's the name of the guy? I'm trying to think of the name of the guy that did the artwork. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but yeah, I was never a big fan of that artwork either. I never heard George really talk about his thoughts or opinions on that artwork, but I can't I can't imagine he got too bent out of shape. I feel like George never really got too bent out of shape about stuff like that. It was all about the product, or the final, the final piece for him. Like if the film itself, he liked the film itself. I never felt like George got too into the weeds and the promotion, which is why I always said, it's like I was saying, it's a great thing about having somebody like Richard there that could really, pull the strings and make the shit happen. As long as George had a camera and a cup of coffee and a pack of smokes, and he could be on set making his movies, he didn't give a shit. It's like we were talking about with the Night 30th anniversary. I never heard him really talk about it, but I never felt like he was the kind of guy that would just speak out about it and put it down, because he was still friendly with, Russo and Striner and those guys. Even a lot of Russo's movies, like George would go out of his way to be fairly kind about them. So, you lucky dog, you. I feel like I remember you telling me that at one point. Ontologically, Steve 7765. What's up, man? I'm surprised Rubenstein hasn't ventured into the convention circuit. So much potential money to be had, considering the money is all he seems to care about. That would be something to see. You guys think Savini is dry at these conventions? Could you imagine? I couldn't imagine. I've talked to I've talked to the guys that run Living Dead Weekend. I'm like, you guys ever reached out to Richard? And they're like, yeah, we would never do that because he would just be there looking for a lawsuit. Like he would just see all this unlicensed Dawn of the Dead shit and just be like, oh, that's a lawsuit, that's a lawsuit, that's a lawsuit. Richard's just not that kind of guy. He has shown up at some like screenings of Dawn of the Dead over the years, like in New York and places like that. And he'll be there for the screening. And I've heard of him like signing stuff and meeting fans and stuff. But in terms of like an actual convention, I don't. That would be so far out of Richard Rubenstein's wheelhouse. I couldn't imagine it. Couldn't imagine it. But I'd be there. I mean, I would be there for it. Take my money. I've always wanted to, even if he is just a complete dick to me or whatever, like just another one of those guys that I just want to say thanks. Like, thank you for everything that you did. Like, we appreciate you. We wish you'd be a little bit more, lenient with the Don and the Martin stuff, but it's your property. It's yours to do what you want with it. But anyway. I must have missed this one, Conqueror. I bought Porno Holocaust from Tower Records right there in the horror section. Haven't seen that one. It sounds good, though. Sounds like fun for the whole family. Grande says, I love the story with George and the Night Riders cover. What's the story with George and the Night Riders cover? I know that the original artwork, the artist, Boris Vallejo, the original artwork, the painting that he did, which the Night Riders artwork is beautiful. I don't know how well it sells the movie, but I love that artwork. The original artwork, I don't know if it still is or not, but it was up on eBay for like $500,000 or something like that is what they were wanting for it. But I don't remember what the story you're specifically referencing there. You can miss it unless you're like looking at genital warts. That actually kind of piques my curiosity even more. So I don't know if you're trying to downplay this or downsell it, but it's not working on me, sir. Yeah, Christmas favorite, Porno Holocaust. Watch it. Bring the kiddies. We're watching Porno Holocaust. But all right, caught up on all the comments. It's been fun. Going back down memory lane, reliving some of it, especially after last week and having to talk about all the shit with the new Scream Factory 4K box set for Day. It's been fun. I wanted to kind of come back this week and go back and talk about some good stuff. Talk about the fun days of Anchor Bay and all that fun stuff. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. The Stars release of Night Riders. George said something like, "I didn't know we made this movie." Yeah, so that's another version. It was after Stars had purchased Anchor Bay, which I'll bring this up real quick here, just to prove, just to show you guys what I'm talking about. So after Stars had purchased Anchor Bay, they did a re-release of Night Riders on DVD. I think this was mid 2000s, something like that. Yeah, here it is. I'll share this. So they did a re-release of Night Riders on DVD, and the cover art, it's some of the worst cover art I've ever seen in my life. Like, not to be a snob about cover art and shit, but this is really fucking bad. Let me throw this up here so you guys can see it. I don't even own this. It's one of those, it's like if I come across it for $5 in a pawn shop or something somewhere, I'll buy it, but I'm not going out of my way to own this. Yeah. So there you go. On eBay right now for $13.99. This Night Riders release. Hold on. There we go. So yeah, Anchor Bay / Stars put this out some years after 2007. There you go. And I forget who it was, but somebody brought this up to George at a convention at his table and asked him to sign it. And George looked at it and he was like, I don't think we made this fucking thing. He was just like, I don't know what this is, but this isn't one of mine, because there's nothing about this that looks remotely like the movie. It looks like a vampire movie with some guy on a motorcycle. Like, nothing about this looks like the movie itself. It's one of the worst covers that Anchor Bay / Stars ever did of any DVD of any movie I've ever seen. Um, yeah, it's pretty fucking horrible. So yeah, I didn't even want to bring that one up tonight, but since Grande insists, we will just to show that Anchor Bay did have some fucking stinkers there as well. But yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine buying that, taking it home, thinking you're getting some like weird, like George Romero vampire on a motorcycle movie, and then you pop it in and it's it's Night Riders, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, just odd, just an odd choice. Jose, what's going on? Says or Joseph, Jose. Jose, Joseph, what's up? Hello, saw you briefly in Monroeville. What's your take on the Day of the Dead 4K media books out with 3 alternate covers? That's one I haven't talked about. I haven't checked out yet. That's the it's German release media book. I haven't checked that one out. I don't own it. I've heard some not so good things about it. It's like AI upscale version of Day of the Dead, which again, I'm not strictly like, oh, I hate AI, fuck AI. If it can be used to enhance something, if it can be used as a tool to make something better, that's fine. But after what I've heard about it, I haven't really gone out of my way to track that one down yet. Um, but yeah, if you check it out, let me know. Let me know if anybody in the chat, if you guys have seen that or checked that out, let me know your thoughts on it. Because like I said, I don't have too much of an opinion on it right now because I haven't checked it out. But yeah, good to see you in here, man. Hope you enjoyed your time at Living Dead weekend. Thanks, Justin. Cheers to you, my man. Dad, what does God damn it, Steven. I wouldn't have read that if I had pre-read that, but okay. Yeah, there you go. Grande saying Stars just trying to trick people into thinking it was a horror film with George. And that's pretty much what they were doing. It's George Romero, so they're like, we got to make this look like a horror film, I guess. So they give the letters on the end with the fangs. It's just like, yeah, well, we see what you're doing there. Which they weren't above doing that either. Anchor Bay, they did that with a couple of different titles. That's a good point, Steven. They probably were, because I think Sons of Anarchy 2007. Yeah, that would have probably been right around the time that it was starting to get real big. They were probably trying to do some kind of rip off of that. Well, it's saying came out in 2008, so maybe not. Maybe Sons of Anarchy. Think of this. Maybe Sons of Anarchy ripped off that Night Riders cover. Maybe they saw that cover and they were like, I have a great idea for a television show. Maybe. You never know. Stezio, nice to chat with Stezio says nice to chat with y'all. See you next week. Cheers to you, man. Always good to have you in here. Good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. That cover's a great way to end the evening. Yeah, we'll end it on a real down note. But hey, that George liked down endings, so I guess it makes sense. But yeah, thanks again, guys. Always a pleasure. Make sure you're hitting that like button and subscribe if you're watching for the first time. And memberships are now available. If you want to be a member of the channel, if you want to help sponsor the channel, gonna have some cool stuff in the works. If you want to be a part of the Alpha Romero Discord, any tier, join the channel. You get a link to the Discord. You can come join us and join in on the party over there. Like I said, just starting this all out, just getting it worked out. So yeah, appreciate you guys as always. Always great to see everybody. Had a good time talking about some Anchor Bay tonight after talking about that travesty of a release last week. But it's good to get back into the the more uplifting side of things here. I'll be back next weekend. Don't know with what. I'm probably going to drop, like I said, I did that Day of the Dead, Siskel and Ebert reaction video. Might try to drop that either I'll try to get that out this week. It's a fun one. It's an interesting one. Those are a lot of fun to do. especially after doing the Siskel and Ebert Dawn of the Dead review. It's a real 180. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'll see you guys next weekend. But until then, everybody stay safe, stay prepared, but always stay scared.